A dark Mafia romance. Prologue. The rain fell in sheets over Holy Cross Cemetery, turning the freshly dug earth into mud that clung to the hem of my black dress. I stood apart from the crowd of mourners, if you could call them that. Most of the men gathered around my father's casket hadn't come to grieve. They'd come to make sure Vivienne Castellano was really dead. I recognized some of them from photographs I'd found hidden in my father's study years ago, back when I was naive enough to think he ran a legitimate import business. The Russos. The De Lucas. The Salvatores. Men whose handshakes could seal your fate, whose smiles preceded violence. And standing furthest from the grave, partially obscured by a black umbrella held by an associate, was a man I didn't recognize but somehow couldn't look away from. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Even from this distance I could feel the weight of his gaze. Vivi. My younger sister Elena's voice cracked as she gripped my arm. At 19 she still believed our father had been a businessman who made some questionable choices. I hadn't told her the truth. What was the point? I can't believe he's gone. I pulled her closer, my eyes still on the stranger across the cemetery. He wasn't looking at the casket. He was looking at me. Miss Castellano. Father Dominic approached, his weathered face creased with what might have been genuine sympathy. He'd known my father for 30 years. He'd probably heard confessions that would make my blood run cold. Your father was a complex man, but he loved you and your sister very much. Everything he did was for family. I finished, the words bitter on my tongue. I know, Father. It was the lie everyone told. The excuse that absolved a multitude of sins. The service ended with a prayer I didn't hear and condolences I didn't feel. Elena clung to our aunt, my father's sister who'd flown in from Boston and who would mercifully leave again tomorrow. I stood alone as the crowd dispersed, watching the cemetery workers begin to fill in the grave. 6 feet of earth between me and the man who'd raised me. The man whose secrets were now mine to carry. Miss Castellano. The voice came from behind me, deep and smooth like expensive whiskey. I turned to find the stranger from across the cemetery standing close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. They were the color of dark amber, cold and assessing. Beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. You have me at a disadvantage, I said, proud that my voice didn't shake. You know who I am, but I don't know you. Luca Moretti. He didn't offer his hand. Didn't smile. Just watched me with those predator's eyes as if memorizing every detail of my face. I was an associate of your father's. The name hit me like a physical blow. I'd heard it whispered, always with a mixture of fear and respect. The Moretti family controlled half the criminal enterprises on the East Coast. And if the rumors were true, Luca Moretti was the most dangerous of them all. I'm sorry for your loss, he continued, though his tone suggested he was sorry for nothing. Your father was a complicated man. So everyone keeps telling me. I turned back to the grave, hoping he'd take the hint and leave. He didn't. We need to talk, Miss Castellano. About your father's outstanding obligations. My stomach dropped. I don't know anything about my father's business. I think you know more than you pretend. He moved to stand beside me, close enough that I caught the scent of his cologne cedar and something darker, more primal. But whether you know or not is irrelevant. Debts don't die with the debtor. I forced myself to meet his gaze. How much? $3 million. He said it casually as if it were pocket change. Plus interest accrued over the past 18 months. The world tilted. $3 million. I had barely $3,000 in my savings account. My father's assets had been seized by the government, his accounts frozen pending investigation. Everything I'd worked for, my MBA, my plans to build a legitimate business, my desperate attempt to distance myself from his legacy, all of it crumbled in an instant. I don't have that kind of money, I whispered. I know. There was something almost like sympathy in his voice. Almost. Which is why I'm here to discuss alternative arrangements. Alternative dash. I shook my head, anger cutting through the shock. I'm not doing whatever it is you think I'm going to do. My father's debts aren't mine. Find someone else to dash. Your sister. He said it quietly, but the words landed like a gunshot. Elena. 19 years old, freshman at Columbia. Majoring in art history. Lives in Hartley Hall, room 302. She has a morning coffee routine at Joe's on Amsterdam Avenue. Always orders a vanilla latte with oat milk. Blood roared in my ears. Don't you fucking dare. I don't want to. For the first time something flickered in those cold eyes. But debts must be paid, Miss Castellano. One way or another. You would hurt an innocent girl to collect money? My voice shook with rage now, not fear. I would do what's necessary to protect my family's interests. He pulled a business card from his jacket pocket and held it out. You have 48 hours to decide how you want to settle this debt. After that, I'll be forced to pursue alternative methods of collection. I snatched the card from his hand, crumpling it in my fist. Go to hell. I've been there, Miss Castellano. He smiled for the first time, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Beautiful and dead. I'm offering you a way to avoid joining me. He turned to leave and I called after him. What's the alternative arrangement? What exactly are you proposing? Luca Moretti looked back over his shoulder, rain beginning to darken his hair. Marry me. Become my wife in every legal sense. And your father's debt along with any threat to your sister disappears. You're insane. Perhaps. He studied me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. But I'm also your only option. 48 hours, Miss Castellano. Choose wisely. He walked away, disappearing into the rain and the gathering darkness, leaving me standing alone beside my father's grave with a crumpled business card in my hand and the taste of ash in my mouth. Behind me, I heard Elena calling my name, her voice young and trusting and completely unaware that our lives had just been sold to the devil. I smoothed out the card. Embossed letters gleamed even in the dim light. Luca Moretti. Theo Moretti Enterprises. Below it a phone number. Nothing else. No address. No email. Just a number to call when I was ready to surrender. Vivi. Elena appeared at my side, mascara streaked down her cheeks. Who was that man? He was watching you the whole service. No one important, I lied, slipping the card into my purse. Just someone who knew Dad. He was handsome. She tried to smile through her tears. In a scary kind of way. Handsome. Yes. He was beautiful the way a blade is beautiful, sleek and cold and designed to cut. As we walked back to the car, I felt the weight of Luca Moretti's gaze even though I knew he was gone. 48 hours to decide whether to sell my soul or sacrifice my sister. I'd spent my entire adult life trying to escape my father's shadow, trying to build something clean and legitimate from the ashes of his criminal empire. I'd sworn I would never be like him, never make the choices he made, never justify evil in the name of family. But as I looked at Elena, so young and innocent and utterly unprepared for the world our father had left us in, I realized I'd been lying to myself. Because I already knew what I was going to do. Some cages you inherit, and some you walk into with your eyes wide open, trading one prison for another in the desperate hope of saving someone you love. I had 48 hours to mourn my father and bury my dreams of a normal life. After that, I would become Mrs. Luca Moretti. God forgive me. Chapter 1. The Deal. I didn't sleep for 47 hours. The first thing I did after Elena finally fell asleep in our childhood bedroom was destroy my father's study. Not in rage, though God knows I had enough of that, but in desperate, methodical search of anything that might save us. Bank statements. Hidden cash. Property deeds. Anything of value that the federal government hadn't already seized. I found nothing but debts and lies. Jesus Christ, Dad, I whispered, surrounded by scattered papers at 3 a.m. What the hell did you do? My phone buzzed. Lily's name lit up the screen. Still awake. Coming over. Don't argue. 20 minutes later, my best friend since college stood in the doorway of my father's study with 2 cups of coffee and the expression she always wore when I was about to do something monumentally stupid. So, she said, stepping over a pile of ledgers. Are we destroying evidence or looking for it? Looking. I took the coffee gratefully. For anything that might get us out of this. Out of what, exactly? Lily settled onto the leather sofa, tucking her legs under her. You've been dodging my calls since the funeral. What happened? I told her everything. The debt. Luca Moretti. The ultimatum. The threat against Elena. Lily didn't interrupt, which was how I knew it was bad. She was never quiet unless she was truly worried. $3 million, she finally said. Vivi, that's dash. Impossible. I know. I slumped against the desk. Even if I sold everything that wasn't already seized, Maybe I'd get 100,000. Maybe. And the alternative is marrying a mobster. Not just any mobster. The mobster. The Moretti family basically runs the East Coast. Lily pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. Let me see what I can find on this guy. While she searched, I paced. The study still smelled like my father's cigars, a scent that used to mean safety when I was a child. Now it just made me nauseous. Oh shit, Lily breathed. What? She turned her phone to show me. A news article from 6 months ago. Federal investigation into Moretti Enterprises ends without charges. Below it, another. Moretti consolidates control after rival family's mysterious disappearance. And another. Alessandro Moretti steps down. Son Luca takes control of family business. But it was the photo that stopped my heart. Luca Moretti at some charity gala. Devastating in a tuxedo. A beautiful woman in a red dress on his arm. The caption identified her as Sofia Russo, daughter of Anthony Russo, head of the Russo crime family. That was taken 3 months ago, Lily said quietly. According to this, the Morettis and Russos were negotiating some kind of alliance. Were. Past tense. 2 weeks after this photo, Sofia Russo was found dead. Overdose, they said. But the comment section is full of people saying it wasn't an accident. I stared at the photo. At Luca's hand on Sofia's waist, possessive and casual. At the cold smile that didn't reach his eyes. Vivi. Lily's voice was gentle. You can't marry this man. We'll find another way. What other way? I laughed, but it came out broken. Run. He found Elena's dorm room number. He knows her coffee order. You think we can hide from that? So we go to the police. And tell them what? That my criminal father owed another criminal money, and now I'm being forced to pay? They'll laugh us out of the station. If they don't arrest me for obstruction. Lily set down her phone, her expression fierce. There has to be another option. Always is. I wanted to believe her. But I'd spent the last 2 days exhausting every possibility. Every scenario ended the same way. Elena in danger or me in chains. At least if I married Luca Moretti, the chains would only be mine to wear. The next morning I drove Elena back to Columbia. She chattered the whole way about her classes, her roommate, the cute guy in her Renaissance art lecture. Normal, beautiful 19-year-old concerns. I memorized every detail. The way she laughed. The unconscious gesture of tucking hair behind her ear. The silver bracelet our mother had given her before she died, worn even though it didn't match her outfit. You're being weird, Elena said as I pulled up to her dorm. I'm not being weird. You are. You've been staring at me like you're memorizing my face. Her smile faded. Vivi, what's wrong? And don't say nothing. You've been strange since the funeral. I gripped the steering wheel. Dad left some complications, financial stuff. I'm handling it. We could sell the house dash. Already seized by the government. Along with everything else. Then I'll take out loans. I'll transfer to a state school dash. No. I turned to face her. You're going to stay here, finish your degree and live your life exactly as planned. That's not negotiable. Elena's eyes filled with tears. We're all each other has left, Vivi. Whatever it is, we face it together. The words cut deeper because I couldn't tell her the truth. That I was about to face this alone. That in 45 minutes my 48 hours would be up and I would make the call that would change everything. I love you, I said instead, pulling her into a fierce hug. No matter what happens, remember that. You're scaring me. Don't be scared. I promise, everything is going to be fine. Another lie. But what were a few more at this point? After Elena disappeared into her dorm, I sat in the car and pulled out Luca Moretti's business card. The embossed letter seemed to mock me. I had 30 minutes left. My phone rang. Unknown number. Miss Castellano. That voice, smooth and dark. I was beginning to think you'd chosen the hard way. How did you get this number? I know everything about you, Vivienne. The use of my full name sent a shiver down my spine. Your bank account balance. Your graduate school debt. Your apartment lease that expires in 3 months. The restraining order you filed against your ex-boyfriend 2 years ago. Should I continue? Stop. I closed my eyes. Just stop. Where's your sister right now? My eyes snapped open. She's safe. She's at school. Hartley Hall. I know. I also know you just said goodbye to her like you'll never see her again. Touching, really. He was watching. Or having me watched. The implication made my skin crawl. What do you want from me? I demanded. I've been very clear about what I want. The question is whether you're ready to give it. I watched students stream past my car, laughing and carefree. Elena was somewhere among them, blissfully unaware that her sister was bargaining with the devil for her safety. If I agree, I said slowly, I need guarantees. You're not in a position to negotiate, Vivienne. Then you're not getting what you want. I forced steel into my voice. You want a wife? Fine. But I need Elena protected. Completely. No one from your world touches her, threatens her, or even looks at her wrong. She finishes school, lives her life, and stays completely separate from whatever this is. Silence on the other end. Then, agreed. And I want it in writing. A contract that specifies exactly what this arrangement entails. Planning to lawyer up? There was amusement in his voice. I admire the effort, but any contract between us would be worth less than the paper it's printed on. You have my word. In my world, that's worth more. Forgive me if I don't find that reassuring. You'll learn. Pause. Anything else? Yes. 1,000 things. An escape route. A time limit. Some guarantee that I wouldn't lose myself completely in whatever fresh hell I was walking into. But I knew better than to ask for the impossible. When? I asked instead. The wedding. 1 week. That gives us time to make it look legitimate. My family has certain expectations about propriety. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Propriety. Right. Because forcing someone to marry you is the height of proper behavior. I'm not forcing you, Vivienne. You're making a choice. A difficult one, certainly. But a choice nonetheless. His voice dropped lower. You could walk away right now. Take your sister and run. See how far you get. That's not a choice. That's an illusion of choice. Welcome to my world. Where do you live? The abrupt question threw me. What? Your address. I'm sending a car to collect you in 2 hours. We have arrangements to discuss. I haven't agreed yet, Dash. Yes, you have. You agreed the moment you answered this call. The only question now is whether you do this with dignity or if I have to make it unpleasant. Heat flooded my face. Anger and humiliation and something else I didn't want to name. You arrogant son of a dash. 2 hours, Vivienne. We're something appropriate. We're meeting my family. He hung up. I sat in stunned silence, gripping the phone so hard my knuckles went white. Meeting his family. As if this were a normal courtship. As if I weren't being sold like property to settle a debt. My phone buzzed with a text from the same unknown number. I'll take care of you. You have my word. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. I don't want to be taken care of. I want to be free. His response came immediately. Freedom is overrated. Security is what keeps you alive. Is that what you tell yourself? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, that's what my father told me. Right before he taught me that love is the most dangerous weakness of all. I didn't respond. What could I say to that? That I was sorry his father had twisted him into something cold and calculating? That I understood what it was like to be shaped by a parent's sins. Another text. The car will be there at 2 p.m. Don't be late. I hate waiting. Lily took one look at me when I walked into our apartment and knew. You're doing it, she said flatly. You're actually going to marry him. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice, Vivi. Not one that keeps Elena safe. I brushed past her toward my bedroom. He's sending a car in an hour. I have to change. She followed me. So that's it? You're just giving up? What happened to the girl who told her father she'd rather die than work for his business? The girl who put herself through grad school specifically to build something legitimate. That girl was naive. I pulled clothes from my closet randomly. That girl thought she could escape her father's legacy by sheer force of will. Turns out, some legacies you can't escape. Listen to yourself. You sound defeated. This isn't you. I whirled on her. You're right. This isn't me. The real me would tell Luca Moretti to go fuck himself. The real me would rather die than become some mobster's trophy wife. But the real me isn't the only one who'd pay the price for that choice. Lily's anger crumbled into worry. Vivi. He knows where Elena lives, Lily. He knows her class schedule. Her coffee order. He's been watching her or having her watched, and that means he can get to her anytime he wants. I sank onto the bed. What would you do if it was your sister? She sat beside me, taking my hand. The same thing you're doing. Which is why I'm terrified for you. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Lily squeezed my hand. Hey, if you're doing this, we do it smart. You go meet his family, you smile and play nice, but you pay attention to everything. Look for leverage. Look for weaknesses. And you remember that you're Vivienne Castellano. You survived your father's world, and you'll survive this one too. I don't want to just survive it, I whispered. I want to find a way out of it. Then we'll find one. Together. She stood, pulling me up with her. Now let's make you look like a woman who's marrying into a crime family by choice, not coercion. Fake it till you make it, right? I managed a weak smile. Right. But as Lily helped me choose an outfit, a navy blue sheath dress that said professional, not provocative, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was dressing for my own funeral. At exactly 2 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up outside our building. The driver was a mountain of a man in a dark suit, with a scar running from his temple to his jaw. Miss Castellano, he said, opening the rear door. Mr. Moretti is waiting. I glanced back at the apartment window. Lily stood there, her face pressed to the glass, one hand raised in a gesture that was half wave, half prayer. Then I got in the car and the door closed behind me with a sound like a cell door slamming shut. The drive took 40 minutes, winding through the city and into an exclusive neighborhood I'd only seen in magazines. Old money. Real power. We pulled through iron gates into a circular driveway. The mansion sprawled before me like something out of a Gothic novel. Stone and ivy and windows that watched like eyes. The driver opened my door. Mr. Moretti is in the study. I'll take you to him. How kind, I muttered. He almost smiled. Word of advice, miss. Mr. Moretti appreciates directness. You want to survive in this family, don't cower. He respects strength. Does he respect unwilling brides? This time he did smile. We'll see, won't we? The interior of the house was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive, tasteful, cold. Marble floors. Crystal chandeliers. Art that probably cost more than most people's houses. The driver, I still didn't know his name, led me through a maze of corridors to a heavy wooden door. He knocked once. Enter. My heart hammered as the door opened. Luca Moretti stood by a window overlooking the gardens, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. He'd shed the suit jacket and his white shirt was open at the collar, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Somehow this made him more intimidating, not less. More real. He turned as I entered, and those amber eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that stole my breath. Vivienne. He set down his glass. You came. Did I have a choice? No. But I appreciate the punctuality. He gestured to a chair. Sit. We have much to discuss. I remained standing. I prefer to stand. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise. Approval? Marco said you had fire. He wasn't wrong. Marco. My brother. He's been keeping an eye on you since your father's death. Making sure you didn't do anything rash. So I'd been watched even before the cemetery. Before the ultimatum. The violation of it made my skin crawl. How thorough, I said coldly. Necessary. He moved closer and I forced myself not to retreat. Your father made enemies, Vivienne. Some of them might have decided his debts could be collected from his daughters instead. So you swooped in to protect us? How noble. I swooped in to protect my investment. He stopped just close enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. Your father owed me $3 million. I could have taken his life to settle that debt, but dead men can't pay. So I let him live, let the interest accumulate, and waited. For what? His smile was slow and predatory. For leverage. For the right moment. For you. The implication settled over me like ice water. You were planning this. Even before he died. I'm always planning, Vivienne. It's how I've stayed alive in a world designed to kill people like me. People like you, I repeated. You mean criminals. I mean survivors. He turned away, retrieving his drink. But we're not here to discuss philosophy. We're here to discuss terms. He pulled a folder from his desk and handed it to me. Inside was a contract, dense with legal language. This outlines our arrangement, he said. You marry me. You live in this house as my wife. In public you play the role convincingly. In private. He paused. We'll establish boundaries. Boundaries. I scan the contract, my legal training kicking in automatically. This says I'm to have no contact with anyone from my previous life without your approval. Security measure. This says I can't leave the property without an escort. Also security. This says my voice rose. This says I'm essentially your prisoner. This says you're my wife. His voice hardened. And my wife's safety is my responsibility. If you want Elena protected, then you accept the protection I'm offering you as well. I read further, my horror growing with each clause. Control over my finances. My schedule. My communications. Everything. This isn't a marriage contract, I said, my voice shaking. This is an ownership agreement. In my world they're the same thing. He took the contract from my trembling hands. Sign it, Vivienne. Or don't. But if you walk out that door, you know what happens next. I thought of Elena. Of Lily. Of everyone I was trying to protect by throwing myself on this particular sword. I want additions, I heard myself say. If I'm signing away my life, I want guarantees. Such as Elena's education paid for. All 4 years, no matter what happens between us. He considered. Agreed. My friend Lily. She doesn't get dragged into this. Whatever protection you're offering me extends to her. Done. And I took a breath. I want a way out. After 1 year, if I want a divorce, you let me go. No repercussions. No threats. His expression darkened. No. Then we don't have a deal. We stared at each other, wills clashing in the charged silence. I knew I was pushing my luck. Knew that Luca Moretti didn't negotiate, he dictated. But Lily was right, I couldn't go into this completely powerless. Finally he spoke. 5 years. 2. 5. And only if you fulfill every term of this contract. Miss a single obligation and the clock resets. It was a trap and we both knew it. He'd designed those obligations to be impossible. But it was more than I'd had a moment ago. Deal. He pulled a pen from his desk, made a notation on the contract, then handed both to me. Sign. The pen felt like a lead weight in my hand. This was it. The moment where I traded my freedom for Elena's safety. Where I became Mrs. Luca Moretti, wife of a monster. I signed. Luca took the contract, reviewing my signature with satisfaction. Then he pressed a button on his desk phone. Tell my parents we're ready. Your parents. I straightened. I thought we were just meeting my family. Yes. He came around the desk, offering his arm like a gentleman, though we both knew what he really was. My mother has been very eager to meet you. She thinks this marriage is a love match. You lied to your own mother? I told her what she needed to hear. As far as anyone outside this room knows, we met, fell in love, and decided to marry quickly because... He glanced at my stomach meaningfully. Heat flooded my cheeks. You told them I'm pregnant? It's the only explanation that makes this timeline believable. Though we could always make it true if you prefer. The suggestion sent a jolt through me, fear and something else I refused to examine. Don't touch me, I said quietly. Oh, Vivienne. He leaned close, his breath warm against my ear. I'm going to do far more than touch you. You're going to be my wife in every sense of the word. But not until you ask me to. I'll never We'll see. He straightened, all business again. Dow smile. My mother can spot a lie from a mile away, but she sees what she wants to see. Give her a reason to believe you're happy and she won't look deeper. He led me from the study into a formal sitting room where 3 people waited. An older man I recognized as Alessandro Moretti, though age had softened the predator I'd seen in photographs. A beautiful woman in her 60s with sharp eyes and an elegant posture. And a younger man who could only be Marco, watching me with unconcealed curiosity. Mama, Luca said warmly, transforming before my eyes into a dutiful son. Papa. This is Vivienne Castellano. My fiancée. Catherine Moretti rose, clasping my hands in hers. Oh my dear. You're even more beautiful than Luca described. And so brave, agreeing to marry him so quickly. She shot her son a knowing look. Though I understand the urgency. He thought I was pregnant. They all did. I felt Luca's hand settle possessively on my lower back. When you know, you know, I managed, the lie tasting like ashes. Indeed. Alessandro's gaze was far sharper than his wife's. He knew exactly what this was. Welcome to the family, Miss Castellano. I'm sure you'll find we take care of our own. The threat was subtle but clear. I was theirs now. For better or worse. Let me show you the rest of the house, Catherine said, laking her arm through mine. You'll be living here, of course. At least until you and Luca find a place of your own. As she led me away, chattering about wedding plans and nurseries, I caught Luca's gaze over my shoulder. He smiled that cold, beautiful smile and raised his glass in a mock toast. I'd signed the contract. Taken the deal. Sold my soul to save my sister. There was no going back now. Chapter 2, The Wedding. The week before my wedding passed in a blur of champagne fittings and carefully orchestrated lies. Catherine Moretti took control of the planning with the enthusiasm of a woman who'd waited years for her eldest son to marry. She didn't question the rushed timeline. She didn't notice how I flinched every time Luca touched me in public, or how his hand on my waist felt more like a shackle than an embrace. She saw what she wanted to see, a young couple in love eager to start their life together. The truth was far uglier. This one, Catherine declared, gesturing to a wedding gown that probably cost more than my father's entire estate. White silk, intricately beaded, with a cathedral train that pooled at my feet like spilled cream. It's perfect for you, darling. I stared at my reflection in the boutique's three-way mirror. The dress was beautiful. I looked like a princess from a fairy tale. But fairy tales didn't end with the princess being sold to the villain. It's lovely, I said, because that's what she expected. You don't sound convinced. Catherine studied me with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. Is it the dress or the wedding? My heart skipped. I'm sorry. Cold feet are normal, dear. I had them before I married Alessandro. She smoothed an invisible wrinkle from the gown's skirt. Marriage is terrifying. You're binding yourself to another person for life. Trusting them with everything you are. If only that were the terrifying part. How did you get past it? I asked. The fear. I reminded myself why I was marrying him. Not for the security or the family name. She met my gaze in the mirror. But because I loved him. Because a life without him seemed emptier than any risk I was taking. The words settled over me like a weight. Love. He thought I loved Luca. He thought this was real. I'll take the dress, I said quietly. Catherine beamed. Wonderful. Now about the ceremony itself. I was thinking St. Patrick's Cathedral dash. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. I mean, somewhere smaller. More intimate. Nonsense. The Moretti family has used St. Patrick's for generations. It's tradition. I don't want a big wedding. I turned from the mirror to face her directly. Please. Just family. That's all I want. Something flickered in her expression. Understanding? Sympathy? But she nodded. If that's what you prefer. Though I should warn you, in this family, just family still means over 100 people. 100 people watching me lie. Watching me promise to love and honor a man who'd blackmailed me into marriage. That's fine, I lied. That evening I was summoned to Luca's study. I'd been living at the mansion for 3 days now, installed in a guest room on the opposite end of the house from his. True to his word, he hadn't touched me beyond what was necessary for appearances. But being under the same roof as him was suffocating. I felt his presence constantly, like pressure before a storm. You wanted to see me? I asked, hovering in the doorway. Luca looked up from his desk where he'd been reviewing documents. Without his suit jacket, sleeves rolled up, dark hair slightly disheveled, he looked almost human. Almost. Come in. Close the door. I obeyed, hating how easily I fell into compliance. He pulled a small box from his desk drawer and held it out. This was my grandmother's. Tradition dictates that I give it to my bride. I opened the box. Inside was the most exquisite diamond ring I'd ever seen, emerald cut, at least 4 carats, set in platinum with smaller diamonds along the band. The kind of ring that cost more than most people's houses. The kind of ring that marked you as property. It's beautiful, I said, because it was. Try it on. I slipped it onto my finger. Of course it fit perfectly. Luca had probably known my ring size before I did. Perfect. He stood, circling the desk to stand before me. Now you look like you're mine. I'm not yours, I said quietly. I'm just on loan. For 5 years. His expression darkened. You're my wife. In 6 days you'll promise before God and my family to be mine until death. Don't delude yourself about what that means. It means I'm trapped. Just like you wanted. Is that what you think? He moved closer and I forced myself to hold my ground. That I went through all this trouble just to trap you? Didn't you? I could have trapped you without marriage, Vivienne. Could have taken what I wanted and left you with nothing. His hand came up to cup my jaw, thumb brushing across my cheekbone with surprising gentleness. I chose this. Chose to make you my wife. To give you my name, my protection, my dash. Your control, I finished. Don't dress it up as something noble. You own me now. Just like you own everything else in your world. His jaw tightened. You have no idea what you're talking about. Then enlighten me. I jerked away from his touch. Tell me what this is really about. Because I don't believe for a second that you need to force a woman to marry you. You're rich, powerful, handsome, you could have anyone you wanted. I want you. The words hung in the charged air between us. Simple. Devastating. Why? I whispered. Because you're Vincent Castellano's daughter. Because you have his blood in your veins and his legacy in your name. Because marrying you gives me something I need. What? What could I possibly give you? His smile was cold. Legitimacy. Your father may have been a criminal, but he was also connected to some of the oldest families on the East Coast. Families who won't do business with the Morettis because they see us as new money. Uncultured. Dangerous. Understanding dawned, ugly and complete. But if you marry me, I marry into those connections. Your bloodline opens doors that money can't. He turned away, pouring himself a drink. So you see, Vivienne, you're not just paying your father's debt. You're an investment in my future. The clinical assessment of my worth as a human being should have hurt more. Instead, I felt something like relief. This was just business. Not personal. Not about me at all. I could survive business. Is that why you killed Sophia Russo? I asked. Because she wasn't the right investment? Luca went very still. When he turned back, his expression was arctic. Who told you about Sophia? I have internet access. Google is very informative. Then Google should have told you that Sophia died of an overdose. Tragic. Accidental. Nothing to do with me. The blogs say differently. The blogs say a lot of things. He set down his drink with deliberate care. Let me be very clear, Vivienne. I didn't kill Sophia Russo. But I didn't mourn her either. She was a means to an end that ended badly. How reassuring. You want reassurance? He crossed back to me in 2 strides, grasping my shoulders. Here it is, you're not Sophia. You're smarter, stronger, and far more valuable to me alive than dead. So unless you force my hand, unless you betray me in a way I can't forgive, you're safe. Force your hand how? Try to run. Try to go to the police. Try to hurt someone I care about. His grip tightened slightly. Don't test me, Vivienne. I'm trying to be reasonable, but my patience has limits. I should have been terrified. Any sane person would have been. But staring into Luca Moretti's cold eyes, I felt something else entirely. Something reckless and defiant. What if I did run? I asked. What would you do? Find you. Bring you back. Make sure you never tried again. By hurting Elena? By hurting you. His hands slid from my shoulders to my waist, pulling me closer. I don't need to touch your sister to make you compliant, Vivienne. There are far more effective methods. My breath caught. You said you wouldn't dash. I said I wouldn't touch you until you asked me to. I didn't say I wouldn't make you want to ask. His hand came up to tangle in my hair, tilting my head back. You're attracted to me. I can see it every time you look at me. Every time you force yourself not to react when I'm close. You're delusional. Am I? His lips hovered inches from mine. Tell me you don't wonder what it would be like. Tell me you haven't thought about it. I had. God help me, I had. Late at night in my guest room, I'd caught myself thinking about those amber eyes, that lethal grace. Wondering what his hands would feel like on my skin. Hating myself for the wondering. What I think about in private is none of your business, I managed. In 6 days, everything about you becomes my business. He released me abruptly, leaving me swaying. Get some sleep, Vivienne. You look exhausted. I fled before he could see how badly I was shaking. The day before the wedding, Elena came to visit. I'd kept her away until now, claiming I was too busy with planning. The truth was I couldn't bear to lie to her face. But she'd insisted, and refusing would have raised questions I couldn't answer. Holy shit, she breathed, staring up at the mansion. Vivi, this place is insane. It's a lot, I agreed. A lot. It's like something out of a movie. She grabbed my hand, her eyes shining. I can't believe you're getting married. And to someone so dash, she lowered her voice. Is he really a Moretti? Like the Morettis? Elena. Because Stephanie in my dorm said her dad knows about them. Said they're connected. My stomach dropped. Connected to what? You know. She glanced around conspiratorially. Organized crime. The Mafia. I forced a laugh. Stephanie sounds like she watches too many movies. Luca's family runs a legitimate import-export business. It wasn't technically a lie. They did run an import business. They just imported more than legal goods. But how did you even meet him? You never mentioned dating anyone. It was fast. We met at a business function and everything just clicked. More lies. They were coming easier now. Practice, I supposed. Elena studied me with an intensity that reminded me of our mother. Are you happy? The question gutted me. Why wouldn't I be? I don't know. You seem. She struggled for the word. Tense. Like you're waiting for something bad to happen. Wedding jitters, I said lightly. Catherine mentioned she had them too. Vivi. Elena took both my hands. If something's wrong, if you're having second thoughts, you can tell me. We can figure it out together. I wanted to tell her everything. Wanted to confess that I was marrying a monster to keep her safe. That every smile was a lie and every touch was a transaction. But I couldn't. Because if she knew the truth, she'd try to stop it. And then Luca would make good on his threats. Nothing's wrong, I lied. I'm just tired. The planning has been intense. A knock on the door interrupted us. Marco Moretti stepped in, all easy charm and devastating good looks. Sorry to interrupt, ladies. Luca wants to see you, Vivienne. Elena's eyes went wide. You're Marco Moretti. I've seen your picture in magazines. He grinned. Guilty. And you must be Elena. I've heard a lot about you. The way he said it, warm but with an edge, made my skin prickle. A reminder that he knew exactly what leverage she represented. I should go, Elena said reluctantly. I have a paper due tomorrow anyway. After she left, Marco's easy smile faded. She doesn't know, does she? About the arrangement. No. And she never will. Luca's orders were to escort her back to campus. Make sure she arrives safely. How kind of him, I said acidly. It is kind. He could have ignored the security risk. Marco's expression turned serious. There are people who'd love to hurt Luca by hurting those he's claimed to care about. Your sister included. He doesn't care about her. She's just collateral. Is she? Marco studied me thoughtfully. You might be surprised what my brother is capable of caring about. I know exactly what he's capable of. He's made it very clear. Has he? Marco moved to the window, watching Elena get into a car below. Luca doesn't do anything without a reason, Vivienne. Even this marriage, especially this marriage, serves multiple purposes. He told me. Social connections. Legitimacy. I'm a business transaction. That's what he told you. Marco glanced back at me. But Luca has been planning this since your father first approached him for a loan. 3 years he's been watching you, waiting for the right moment. Don't you wonder why? 3 years. The number echoed in my head. That meant. He engineered my father's debt, I whispered. Marco's silence was answer enough. Why? Why go through all this trouble? That's a question for my brother. He headed for the door. But if I were you, I'd ask myself why a man who could have anyone would orchestrate an elaborate scheme to force one specific woman to marry him. He left me standing alone, mind reeling. 3 years. Luca had been planning this for 3 years. What else had he planned? What else was I missing? The morning of my wedding, I woke to find Lily in my room. How did you get in here? I asked groggily. Your future brother-in-law let me in. He's kinda hot, by the way. In a dangerous sort of way. Lily dash. Don't Lily me. She sat on the bed, her expression fierce. I'm here to make sure you're actually okay with this. Because you can still back out. We can run right now. I have a car, cash, and a plan. God, I loved her. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. We go out the window, down the trellis. Yes, there's an actual trellis. This place is ridiculous and we're gone before anyone notices. They'd find us. Maybe. But at least you'd have tried. He grabbed my hands. Vivi, I've known you since freshman year. I've seen you face down professors, exes, and your father's disapproval. You don't give up. So why are you giving up now? I'm not giving up. I'm choosing. Choosing to marry a mobster? Choosing to protect Elena. There's a difference. Lily's face crumpled. I hate this. I hate that you have to make this choice. I hate it too. I pulled her into a hug. But it's done. The contracts are signed, the guests are arriving, and in 3 hours I'll be Mrs. Luca Moretti. What if he hurts you? He won't. I'm too valuable. That's not reassuring, Vivi. It's the best I can offer. A knock on the door. Catherine's voice. Vivienne? The hair and makeup team are here. Lily pulled back, wiping her eyes. Hey, if you're doing this, then we're doing it right. Let's make you the most beautiful bride anyone's ever seen. Why? Because fuck him, that's why. He might own you legally, but he doesn't get to see you broken. You walk down that aisle like a queen. The ceremony took place in the mansion's private chapel because of course they had a private chapel. 100 people filled the pews, all strangers except for Lily and Elena in the front row. I stood in the bride's room staring at myself in the mirror. The dress was perfection. My hair was swept into an elegant updo. My makeup made me look ethereal, untouchable. I looked like someone else entirely. Ready. Marco appeared in the doorway, devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo. He was giving me away since my father was dead and I had no other male relatives. The irony wasn't lost on me. No, I admitted. Good. If you were ready, I'd be worried. He offered his arm. Between you and me, I think my brother is making a mistake. What? Marriage changes things. He thinks he can keep it purely transactional, but he's deluding himself. Marco's expression was oddly sympathetic. You're going to break his heart, Vivienne Castellano. And I'm going to enjoy watching it happen. Before I could respond, the music started. Wagner's bridal chorus, traditional and mocking. Showtime, Marco murmured. We walked down the aisle. Everyone stood. Everyone watched. I kept my eyes forward, refusing to meet their curious, judgmental gazes. And then I saw him. Luca stood at the altar in a black tuxedo, looking like sin incarnate. His amber eyes locked onto mine with an intensity that stole my breath. For a moment, just one insane moment, I forgot this was a transaction. Forgot the blackmail and threats and lies. He looked at me like I was the only person in the world. Then I reached the altar, Marco placed my hand in Luca's and reality crashed back. You look beautiful, Luca murmured, low enough that only I could hear. You look like the devil. His lips quirked. Fitting, don't you think? Father Dominic began the ceremony. I barely heard the words. Barely registered the promises I was making. My entire focus was on Luca's hand holding mine, warm and strong and completely inescapable. Do you, Luca Alessandro Moretti, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do. No hesitation. Complete certainty. And do you, Vivienne Marie Castellano, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband? This was it. My last chance to refuse. To expose this farce for what it was. I thought of Elena safe in the pews. Of Lily watching with worried eyes. Of everyone counting on me to be strong. I do, I whispered. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Luca's hands came up to cup my face, tilting my head back. His eyes searched mine for one long moment. Mine, he breathed. Then he kissed me. I'd expected it to be for show, brief, perfunctory, appropriate for church. I was wrong. Luca kissed me like he was claiming me. Like he was branding me. His mouth moved over mine with a possession that should have terrified me. Instead, heat exploded through my body, shocking and unwelcome. When he finally pulled back, I was breathless. Trembling. He smiled that cold, beautiful smile and whispered against my lips. Welcome to the family, Mrs. Moretti. The guests applauded. Catherine cried happy tears. Marco smirked knowingly. And I realized with sudden, devastating clarity that I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. The reception was held in the mansion's ballroom, glittering with candlelight and champagne. I sat at the head table beside my new husband, watching dangerous men toast our happiness with dead eyes. Luca kept his hand on my thigh under the table, a constant reminder of ownership. Every time I tried to shift away, his grip tightened. "Smile," he murmured during one particularly effusive toast. "You look like you're at a funeral." "I feel like I am." Dramatic. But his hand moved higher, fingers tracing patterns on my inner thigh. "Though I suppose in a way you're mourning your old life. Don't worry. Your new one will be much more interesting." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." Elena approached during the dancing, her eyes shining with champagne and innocence. "I'm so happy for you, Vivi. Luca seems really great." "He is," I lied, smiling as Luca's arm came around my waist. "Your sister was just telling me about her art history thesis," Luca said smoothly. "Renaissance representations of feminine virtue. Fascinating topic." He'd researched her, learned her interests, building a connection so that if she ever learned the truth, she'd doubt her own judgment. It was masterful manipulation and I hated him for it. "I should get back to school," Elena said reluctantly. "But thank you for letting me be part of this. I love you, Vivi." "I love you too." I hugged her tight. "Be safe." After she left, Luca's mask dropped slightly. "She suspects nothing." "Good. You're a monster." "Yes." He turned me to face him. "And you married me anyway. What does that make you?" I had no answer. The first dance was torture. Luca held me close, moving with a grace that should have been illegal. Every eye in the room watched us, seeing a couple in love. Only I felt the steel beneath his elegant exterior. Only I knew the truth. "What happens now?" I asked quietly. "Now we play happy newlyweds for a few more hours. Then I take you upstairs to the master suite." My heart hammered. "You said you wouldn't dash." "I said I wouldn't touch you until you asked." "That hasn't changed." His hand settled at the small of my back. "But we'll be sharing a room, Vivienne. Sharing a bed. Because my family expects it and I won't have them questioning our marriage. So I'm supposed to just sleep next to you? Unless you'd prefer I give you a reason to lose sleep." His voice dropped to that dangerous purr. "Say the word and I'll make sure you don't sleep at all." Heat flooded my face. "You're impossible." "I'm patient." He spun me out, then back into his arms. "But not infinitely so. Eventually you're going to stop fighting what's between us. There's nothing between us but a contract and threats. Keep telling yourself that." His lips brushed my ear. "But we both know you felt something when I kissed you at the altar. And that terrifies you more than any threat I could make." He was right and I hated him for it. The dancing ended. The guests began to leave. Marco clapped Luca on the shoulder with a knowing grin. Catherine kissed my cheek and whispered about grandbabies. Alessandra watched us with calculating eyes, already planning how to use this marriage to the family's advantage. And then we were alone. Luca led me up the grand staircase, down a corridor I'd never explored, to a set of double doors at the end. The master suite. His domain. Now mine as well. He opened the door and I stepped inside. The room was enormous, bigger than my entire apartment had been. A king-sized bed dominated the space, dressed in charcoal silk. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the gardens. Expensive art adorned the walls. And in the corner, I noticed a door slightly ajar. My clothes moved from the guest room hung in what must be a massive closet. He'd planned this. Known I'd end up here. "The bathroom is through there," Luca said, shrugging out of his jacket. "You'll find everything you need." I stood frozen, watching him loosen his tie. The casual domesticity of it was somehow more intimate than anything else we'd done. "I need a minute," I said. "Take your time." I fled to the bathroom, locking the door behind me. My hands shook as I braced against the marble counter, staring at my reflection. Mrs. Luca Moretti. The ring on my finger caught the light, brilliant and binding. I'd done it. Signed away my freedom, my future, everything I was. For Elena. For protection. For survival. But as I thought about sharing that bed with Luca, about sleeping next to the man who'd orchestrated my father's debt and my own captivity, I wondered if survival was worth the price. A knock on the door. "Vivienne. It's late." I took a breath, then another. Straightened my spine. Lily's words echoed. "Walk like a queen." I opened the door. Luca had changed into sleep pants, his chest bare. I forced myself not to react to the lean muscle, the tattoo over his heart, his sword wreathed in thorns. I'll sleep on top of the covers, I said. On my side. You stay on yours. Agreed. He pulled back the duvet on his side, sliding in. For tonight. I climbed onto my side, still in my wedding dress because I couldn't bear to undress in front of him. The bed was enormous, but I still felt the heat of his body, the awareness of his presence. Good night, wife, he said into the darkness. I didn't answer. But as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I felt the weight of the ring on my finger. The weight of the vows I'd spoken. The weight of the choice I'd made. And I wondered, not for the first time and certainly not for the last, if I would survive the man I'd married. Or if he would destroy me long before our 5 years were up. Chapter 3, Gilded Cage. I woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the scent of coffee. For one blissful moment I forgot where I was. Then I felt the silk sheets against my skin, saw the expensive art on the walls, and remembered. I was in Luca Moretti's bed. I was Luca Moretti's wife. I sat up, still wearing my wedding dress, wrinkled now, uncomfortable. The other side of the bed was empty, sheets pulled tight as if he'd never been there at all. A note lay on his pillow, written in bold, slashing handwriting. Breakfast is at 8. Don't be late. I checked my phone. 7:47. 13 minutes to make myself presentable for whatever fresh hell awaited me. I scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over the yards of silk train, and rushed to the closet. My clothes hung there alongside Luca's, my simple dresses and jeans looking shabby next to his tailored suits. Someone had also added new clothes. Designer labels I recognized from magazines. Dresses that cost more than my monthly rent used to. All in my exact size. Of course. I grabbed the simplest thing I could find, a navy wrap dress, and changed quickly, leaving the wedding gown in a heap on the bathroom floor. My makeup from yesterday was smudged, my carefully styled hair a disaster. I looked like what I was. A woman who'd slept in her wedding dress to avoid undressing in front of her husband. At 7:58 I made my way downstairs, following the sound of voices to a sun-drenched breakfast room I hadn't seen before. Luca sat at the head of the table, reading a newspaper, looking immaculate in a charcoal suit. Catherine sat to his right, spreading jam on toast. Marco lounged across from her, smirking at his phone. They all looked up when I entered. Good morning, darling, Catherine said warmly. Did you sleep well? Like the dead, I lied, sliding into the chair Luca indicated directly to his left, close enough that our arms nearly touched. You look exhausted, Marco observed, far too cheerful. Rough night. Luca's hand found my thigh under the table, squeezing in warning. My wife is adjusting to her new home. It takes time. Of course. Catherine passed me a plate of pastries. I remember my first week here. The house is so large I got lost trying to find the kitchen. It's overwhelming, I agreed, accepting coffee from a silent server who appeared at my elbow. How many staff worked here? How many people would witness my captivity and say nothing? You'll learn the layout quickly, Luca said, his hand still on my thigh, fingers tracing absent patterns that made my skin prickle. Especially since you won't be going anywhere for a while. I turned to him sharply. Excuse me. Honeymoon tradition, he said smoothly. Newlyweds stay close to home for the first few weeks. It's expected. I have things to do. My father's estate is being handled by my lawyers. His grip tightened slightly. Everything you need is here, Vivienne. There's no reason to leave. The implication hung heavy. I'm not letting you leave. What about my apartment? I demanded. Pie things. Already moved. Everything you own is now in our closet. Our closet. Our room. Our life. The possessive pronouns made my skin crawl. You had no right. I had every right. His voice remained pleasant, but steel lurked beneath. You're my wife. Your life is here now. Catherine watched this exchange with slight confusion, as if she couldn't understand why I'd be upset about my husband taking care of practical matters. Marco, however, looked amused. He knew exactly what was happening. I need to see Lily, I said, forcing calm into my voice. My friend. We had plans today. Cancel them. Luca. We'll discuss this later. He released my thigh to check his watch. I have a meeting in 20 minutes. Marco, you're with me. Mama, perhaps you could show Vivienne around the estate? Help her feel more at home. It wasn't a suggestion. Catherine beamed. I'd love to. There's so much to see. The gardens, the library, the pool house dash. That sounds wonderful, I interrupted before she could list every room in this prison. Thank you. Luca stood buttoning his jacket. He leaned down to kiss my cheek, a gesture that looked affectionate but allowed him to whisper in my ear, "Behave." Then he was gone, Marco trailing behind with a backward glance that might have been sympathetic. Catherine's tour took 2 hours and confirmed my worst fears. The estate was enormous, isolated, and completely secure. High walls surrounded the property. Cameras monitored every entrance. Guards dressed as groundskeepers but clearly armed patrolled the perimeter. For safety, Catherine explained when she noticed me watching them. Alessandro has always been very security conscious. Luca is even more so. Has there been trouble? I asked carefully. Oh, occasionally. Rival families, business disputes. Nothing for you to worry about, dear. She led me through a greenhouse filled with orchids. Luca would never let anything happen to you. The irony was suffocating. I was in danger from Luca, not protected by him. Catherine, I ventured, did you choose to marry Alessandro? Or was it arranged? She paused, touching the petal of a white orchid. It was arranged, yes. Our families thought we'd be a good match. And were you? Happy, I mean. Eventually. She smiled, but there was something sad in it. I was very young, only 20. Alessandro was 32, already deep in the family business. I didn't understand what I was marrying into. When did you understand? The first time I saw him kill someone. The words dropped like stones. Catherine said them so calmly, still stroking the orchid. I wanted to leave, she continued. Tried to, actually. Made it as far as the train station. Her smile turned rueful. Alessandro found me. Brought me back. And he said something I've never forgotten. You can hate me, Catherine. You can fear me. But you're mine and I protect what's mine. My throat tightened. That's not love. No, it wasn't. Not then. She turned to face me fully. But over time I learned who he really was beneath the violence. I learned why he did the things he did. And I chose to stay not because I had to, but because I wanted to. You had Stockholm Syndrome. She laughed, a genuine sound. Perhaps. Or perhaps I simply found something worth staying for. Love isn't always what we expect it to be, Vivienne. Sometimes it's messy and complicated and morally questionable. Is that what you think I have with Luca? Love. I think you have potential for it. She took my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. My son is not an easy man. He's cold, calculating, and yes, dangerous. But he's also capable of extraordinary loyalty and fierce protection for those he claims as his. I don't want to be claimed. Too late for that, dear. You married him. Catherine's expression turned serious. But here's what I learned. Being claimed doesn't mean being powerless. In this family, the women are stronger than they appear. We bend, but we don't break. And eventually we learn to bend our men in return. She released my hand and continued walking, leaving me to process her words. Was she trying to help me? Warn me? Or simply justifying her own choices? I didn't see Luca again until dinner. I'd spent the afternoon exploring the mansion, not looking for escape routes because that would be foolish, but definitely noting exits and weaknesses. The security was impressive but not perfect. There were blind spots. Moments when guards rotated positions. Not that I had anywhere to run. Not with Elena's safety hanging in the balance. Dinner was formal. Alessandro at the head of the table, Catherine to his right, Luca across from her. I sat beside Luca with Marco rounding out the group. The conversation was carefully neutral: stock markets, property investments, a charity gala next month. Nothing that suggested this family controlled a criminal empire. But I saw the way Alessandro watched Luca, assessing. The way Marco deflected certain questions. The way Catherine smoothed over tense moments with practiced ease. This was a performance. They were all actors playing their parts. Vivienne, Alessandro said, drawing my attention. I hear you have an MBA from Columbia. Impressive. Thank you. What were your plans? Before the wedding. Before I was blackmailed into marriage, he meant. I wanted to start a consulting firm, I said carefully. Help small businesses develop growth strategies. Noble. He cut into his steak with surgical precision. But impractical. Small businesses rarely have the capital to pay consultants adequately. Not everything is about money. The table went silent. Even the servers paused. Alessandro's eyes, so like Luca's but colder, fixed on me. In my experience, everything is about money. Power, loyalty, love, all can be bought for the right price. Is that what you taught your sons? Alessandro, Catherine murmured, a warning. But the old man smiled. It's what I taught them to survive. Whether they believe it is their choice. He turned to Luca. What do you think, son? Can love be bought? Luca's hand found mine under the table, lacing our fingers together in a gesture that looked affectionate but felt like a shackle. I think, he said slowly, that love is a weakness we can't afford. But loyalty, real loyalty that has to be earned. And have you earned your wife's loyalty? Alessandro challenged. I'm working on it. The old man laughed. Good luck with that. The Castellano women have always been stubborn. My head snapped up. You knew my mother? Knew of her. Beautiful woman. Stronger than your father deserved. Alessandro's expression shifted, something almost like respect flickering through. When she died, Vincent was never the same. Lost his edge. Started making stupid mistakes. Like borrowing from the Morettis, I said bitterly. Exactly. Luca's grip on my hand tightened to the point of pain, a clear warning to drop the subject. But I couldn't. My father came to you 3 years ago. Why did you give him the loan? You must have known he couldn't pay it back. Alessandro smiled. I knew exactly what would happen. And it happened precisely as I planned. The admission hung in the air, ugly and undeniable. You wanted him to default, I breathed. You wanted dash. I wanted leverage. Alessandro cut me off. Your father had something I needed. When he couldn't provide it, I took something else instead. Me. You took me. I gave you to my son. There's a difference. Father, Luca said, his voice hard. Enough. Why? She should understand how business works in our world. How debts are paid. Alessandro leaned back, swirling his wine. Your father stole from us, Vivienne. Did he tell you that? Before he died. My blood went cold. Stole what? Information. Very valuable information about our operations. He planned to sell it to the FBI. Alessandro's smile was cruel. So I had a choice. Kill him and make him a martyr, or let him dig himself deeper into debt until he was completely in my control. You're lying, I whispered. Am I? Ask your friend Lily. She's a graphic designer, yes? Did your father ever ask her to help him with encrypted files? Hidden drives. The room spun. Lily had mentioned something a year ago about my father asking her about data encryption. I'd thought nothing of it. I see you're beginning to understand. Alessandro set down his wine. Your father was a traitor and a fool. He deserved what he got. What he got. I pulled my hand from Luca's, standing abruptly. He's dead. Are you saying dash? I'm saying he made enemies. Those enemies have ways of expressing their displeasure. Alessandro's expression held no remorse. Whether it was a heart attack or something more. Well, does it matter now? I looked at Luca. Did you know about this? He met my gaze steadily. Yes. And you didn't think to mention that your family might have murdered my father? I didn't murder anyone, Luca said carefully. But I won't mourn a traitor either. The betrayal cut deeper than I expected. I'd known Luca was dangerous, known his family was involved in horrible things. But this, my father might have been a criminal, but he was still my father. And they'd killed him. Or let him be killed. Same difference. Vivienne dash, Luca started. Don't. I backed away from the table. Don't you dare. I ran. Behind me I heard Catherine's voice, sharp. Alessandro, that was cruel. It was necessary. She needs to understand dash. I didn't hear the rest. I was already taking the stairs 2 at a time, fleeing to the only place I could. The master bedroom that was both sanctuary and prison. I slammed the door, locked it, and collapsed against it. My father was dead because of these people. Because he'd tried to escape their world and they'd punished him for it. And I'd married into his murderer's family. A knock on the door. Vivienne. Open up. Luca. Of course. Go away. I will not. This is my room too. I don't care. Sleep somewhere else. We need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I shouted through the door. Your family killed my father and you used it to trap me. You're all monsters. Silence. Then, you're right. The quiet admission shocked me into stillness. My family did orchestrate your father's death, Luca continued, his voice muffled by the door. Not directly, we're not that crude. But we made sure the people he was trying to betray us to knew exactly what he was planning. And those people handled it. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve the truth. Because you're going to be part of this family, and that means understanding how we operate. I'll never be part of this family. You already are. The moment you said I do, you became one of us. Pause. And that means whether you like it or not, we protect you now. My father's cruelty tonight aside, no one will touch you. No one will hurt you. Because you're mine. I'm not yours, I said, but the conviction was fading. Open the door, Vivienne. Let me in. So you can manipulate me? Threaten me? So I can explain. Please. The please surprised me. Luca didn't strike me as a man who said please often. Against my better judgment, I unlocked the door. He entered slowly, hands visible as if approaching a wild animal. He'd removed his jacket and tie, rolled up his sleeves. He looked almost human. Almost. My father is a bastard, he said flatly. He enjoys power, enjoys seeing people break. What he said tonight, the way he said it, was designed to hurt you. Mission accomplished. I should have warned you. Should have told you what to expect from him. Luca ran a hand through his hair, disheveling it. But I didn't want to speak ill of your father before you heard it from someone else. How considerate. He ignored the sarcasm. Your father did steal from us. And he did plan to go to the FBI. Those are facts. But he was also desperate. Drowning in debt, terrified for his daughter's future. He made a stupid choice born of desperation. Luca moved closer and I forced myself not to retreat. I don't hate him for it. I would have done the same in his position. You're saying you understand why he betrayed you? I'm saying I understand why he tried. Doesn't mean I could let him succeed. The casual admission of my father's murder, indirect though it was, should have horrified me. Dad, I felt numb. Why did you really marry me? I asked. The truth this time. Not the social connections bullshit. Luca's expression shifted, something raw flickering through. Because from the moment I saw you, I wanted you. And I always get what I want. That's not a reason. That's possession. In my world, they're the same thing. He reached out, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. I've been watching you for 3 years, Vivienne. Watching you build a life separate from your father's legacy. Watching you refuse to give up even when everything was against you. You're strong, intelligent, and completely wasted in the mundane life you were trying to build. That was my choice to make. And now you have a different choice. His hand cupped my jaw. You can hate me. You can fight me. But you're mine now, and I protect what's mine. The echo of what Catherine had said about Alessandro sent chills through me. I'm not a possession, I whispered. No. You're much more valuable than that. His thumb brushed over my lower lip. You're my wife. My partner. And eventually you'll be my queen. Your queen in a criminal empire. Is that really worse than being invisible in a world that would have chewed you up and spit you out? His eyes searched mine. At least here you have power. Real power. Use it. Power to do what? Become like you. Power to shape this family's future. To protect the people you love. To matter. His lips hovered close to mine. Isn't that what you've always wanted? To matter. He was right, and I hated him for it. I'd spent my whole life trying to prove I was more than my father's daughter. Trying to build something meaningful, something that would last. But all my plans, all my ambitions, they'd been small. Safe. Destined to fail, not because I wasn't capable, but because I was playing a rigged game. Here in Luca's world, the game was different. Darker. More dangerous. But maybe, just maybe, I could win. What do you want from me? I asked. Everything. He pressed his forehead to mine. Your loyalty. Your trust. Your dash. Don't say love. We both know that's not what this is. No, he agreed. But it could become something. If you let it. I should have pushed him away. Should have maintained the distance between us. Instead, I found myself asking, if I give you everything, what do I get in return? Protection. Power. A place in a world that would have destroyed you otherwise. His hand settled on my waist. And pleasure. So much pleasure, Vivienne. All you have to do is ask. I'm not asking. Not yet. His smile was dark promise. But you will. He released me, stepping back. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we start your education. Education in what? How to be a Moretti. He headed for the bathroom. Fair warning, it won't be easy. My father will test you. Other families will challenge you. And you'll have to prove you belong at my side. And if I can't? He looked back, and for a moment I saw something almost like vulnerability in his eyes. Then we both lose everything. He disappeared into the bathroom, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the terrifying realization that some part of me, some twisted, broken part, wanted to prove I could do this. Not for him. Not even for Elena. But for myself. To prove that Vivienne Castellano could survive anything. Even marriage to the devil. Chapter 4. Secrets and Lies. My education began at dawn. I woke to find Luca already dressed, standing by the window with his phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. When he noticed I was awake, he ended the call. Get dressed, he said. Something practical. We're going to the office. What office? Wine. You wanted to understand my world? Time to see it firsthand. 20 minutes later, I sat in the passenger seat of Luca's black Audi, watching the city wake up around us. He drove with the same controlled precision he applied to everything else: smooth, efficient, slightly dangerous. Where exactly are we going? I asked. Moretti Enterprises headquarters. Downtown. He glanced at me. You'll meet some of my associates. Observe how we operate. Is this legal operation or illegal operation? His lips quirked. Does it matter? Yes. Then legal. Mostly. He navigated through traffic with ease. The import business is legitimate. What we import isn't always legal, but the business structure itself is sound. That's not reassuring. It's honest. He pulled into an underground parking garage beneath a gleaming high-rise. Which is more than most people in my position would give you. The elevator ride to the top floor was silent. I studied Luca's reflection in the polished doors, jaw tight, shoulders tense. He was nervous about something. What aren't you telling me? I asked. Many things. You'll have to be more specific. Why am I really here? This isn't just about education. The elevator doors opened before he could answer. We stepped into a lobby of marble and glass, where a receptionist jumped to attention. Mr. Moretti. Mrs. Moretti. Good morning. Mrs. Moretti. The title still felt foreign. Luca led me past her without response, through a maze of corridors to a corner office that overlooked the city. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Sleek furniture. Art that was probably priceless. And on the desk, a folder with my name on it. What is this? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. Your father's file. Everything we have on Vincent Castellano, his debts, his dealings, his secrets. Luca settled into his chair, gesturing for me to take the one across from him. I thought you should see it. Why? Because you deserve the truth. All of it. His expression was unreadable. And because there's something in there you need to know. With shaking hands, I opened the folder. The first pages were financial records, loans, payments, interest accruing. Exactly what I'd expected. Then came surveillance photos. My father meeting with unknown men in parking garages, restaurants, parks. The timestamps went back 5 years. You were watching him that long? I breathed. We watch everyone who owes us money. It's standard practice. I turned more pages. Bank statements showing large deposits and withdrawals. Property records for buildings I'd never heard of. And then, I froze. A birth certificate. Not mine, not Elena's. A boy. Born 26 years ago to Vincent Castellano and Maria Rodriguez. I don't understand, I whispered. Luca leaned forward. Your father had another child. A son. From a relationship before he married your mother. The words didn't make sense. My father had a son? I had a brother? Where is he? I demanded. We don't know. The mother died when the boy was 12. After that, he disappeared into the foster system. We've been trying to track him down, but Why? Why does it matter? Because according to the terms of your father's will, the real will, not the one that was probated, this son inherits everything. Including the debt. My mind reeled. That's impossible. The government seized everything. They seized what they knew about. Your father was smarter than we gave him credit for. Luca slid another document across the desk. He had hidden assets. Offshore accounts, properties in shell company names. Worth approximately $5 million. $5 million. Enough to pay off the debt and then some. If this is true, I said slowly, then our marriage was unnecessary. You could have just waited for this son to surface and collected from him. Yes. The single word hung between us. Then why? I looked up at him. Why go through with it? Why marry me if you didn't need to? Lucas stood, rounding the desk to lean against it in front of me. Because the son is a problem. A significant one. What kind of problem? The kind that works for the FBI. Everything clicked into place. My father's attempts to go to the bureau. His desperation. His secrets. He was trying to protect his son, I realized. That's why he was going to turn you in. He thought if he gave the FBI enough information, they'd protect both his children. Likely. Luca's expression was grim. Which means when this son finds out about his inheritance and he's going to come looking for answers. And when he does, he'll find you. Me? Why would he? Understanding dawned. Because I'm his sister. Because he'll want to know what happened to our father. And because you're married to the man he'll blame for Vincent's death. Luca crouched before me, taking my hands. This is why you're here, Vivienne. Why I need you to understand our world. Your half-brother is going to come for us, and when he does, you need to be ready. Ready for what? To choose. His grip tightened. Between the family you didn't know you had and the one you married into. The cruelty of it stole my breath. You bastard. This was your plan all along, wasn't it? Marry me so I'd be too implicated to help him when he surfaced. Partially. He didn't deny it. But also because I wanted you. Both things can be true. I yanked my hands away. You're using me as bait. I'm preparing you for war. He stood, moving back to his desk. Your brother's name is Daniel Castellano. FBI special agent assigned to organized crime. He's been investigating my family for 2 years, but he doesn't know yet about his connection to you or your father. How do you know all this? We have sources inside the bureau. Said so casually as if corruption was nothing. They've kept us informed about his investigation. But last week, Daniel requested access to Vincent Castellano's sealed files. It's only a matter of time before he puts it all together. My head spun with the implications. A brother I'd never known. An FBI agent. Coming for the family that had killed our father. And me caught in the middle. What do you want me to do? I asked hollowly. When he contacts you will you tell me immediately? You don't meet with him alone. You don't share anything about our operations. Luca's voice hardened. And you remember which family you belong to now. The family that murdered my father. The family that protects you. He came back around the desk, tilting my chin up. I know this is difficult. I know you hate me right now. But Vivienne, listen to me. Daniel Castellano is dangerous. He's dedicated his entire career to taking down people like us. If he finds out you're married to me, he'll try to use you. Flip you. Turn you into an informant. Maybe I should be. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Luca's expression went arctic. What did you say? Nothing. I didn't mean . You're thinking about it. His hand moved from my chin to my throat, not squeezing, just resting there. A reminder of how easily he could hurt me. You're thinking that maybe this brother you've never met offers you a way out. That maybe the FBI could protect you and Elena. Can you blame me? Yes. His thumb pressed against my pulse point. Because you're forgetting something crucial, Vivienne. The FBI can't protect you from me. No one can. Is that a threat? It's a fact. He released me, stepping back. You want out of this marriage? Fine. 5 years, you get your divorce. But betray me before then, help your brother, go to the authorities, try to burn down what my family built, and the consequences will be severe. You'd hurt Elena. I'd hurt you. His smile was cruel. Elena would just have to watch. The viciousness of it shocked me. This was the real Luca Moretti, not the smooth businessman or the attentive husband, but the monster beneath. I understand, I said quietly. Do you? He studied me. I'm not convinced. Before I could respond, his office door burst open. Marco strode in, face flushed, phone in hand. We have a problem, he said, then noticed me. Oh. Maybe we should . She stays, Luca said. What is it? The Russos. They just made a move on our shipment at the port. 3 of our men are dead. The temperature in the room dropped. Which shipment? Luca's voice was deadly calm. The pharmaceutical one. The legal one, but they don't know that. Luca's jaw clenched. They think they're stealing our contraband. They're trying to start a war. What do we do? Luca was silent for a long moment. Then, call a meeting. All the families. If the Russos want war, they'll get it. But not until everyone knows who fired the first shot. Marco nodded and left. Luca turned back to me and I saw the shift in his eyes from husband to boss, from man to monster. Go home, he said. Have Marco's driver take you. Stay inside until I get back. What are you going to do? What I have to. He grabbed his jacket, checked his weapon, a sleek pistol I hadn't noticed before, and headed for the door. Luca. He paused, looking back. Don't get killed, I said, surprising myself. His expression softened fractionally. Planning to miss me, wife? Planning not to become a widow before I get my divorce. He almost smiled. Fair enough. Then he was gone, and I was alone in his office with a folder full of secrets and the terrifying knowledge that somewhere out there, I had a brother who wanted to destroy the man I'd married. Marco's driver, the same scarred mountain from my wedding day, drove me back to the mansion in silence. I spent the ride staring at my phone, debating whether to call Lily. I needed to tell someone about Daniel. Needed to process this revelation. But Luca's warning echoed. You tell me immediately. Was my phone monitored? Were all my communications screened? The paranoia was exhausting. Back at the mansion, Catherine found me in the library, staring blankly at shelves of leather-bound books I'd never read. Vivienne, darling. You look pale. Are you feeling all right? Fine, I lied. Just tired. Luca works you too hard. You've only been married 4 days. She settled onto the sofa beside me. He's always been like this, intense, driven. Sometimes he forgets other people need rest. Catherine, can I ask you something? Of course. When you found out what Alessandro really did, what the family really was, did you ever think about leaving? Her expression grew distant. Every day for the first year. What stopped you? Fear initially. Then acceptance. And eventually something like understanding. She took my hand. The world isn't black and white, Vivienne. There are many shades of gray, and the Morettis live in the darkest of them. But we're not entirely evil. We protect our own. We have a code. A code that includes murder. When necessary, yes. She said it so matter-of-factly. But not casual violence. Not cruelty for cruelty's sake. The people we hurt are people who've hurt us first. It's justice. Of a sort. That's not justice. That's revenge. In our world, they're the same thing. He squeezed my hand. I know this is difficult, but you're stronger than you think. And Luca chose you for a reason. He chose me because of my father's debt. He chose you because he saw something in you that he recognized in himself. Catherine's eyes held mine. Strength hidden behind civility. Steel wrapped in silk. You're more like him than you want to admit. The words hit harder than they should have. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Miss Castellano. We need to talk about your father. Coffee tomorrow, 10 a.m.? Joe's on Amsterdam. Daniel. My blood went cold. He'd found me. Found out about me. And he was using the coffee shop near Elena's dorm, a subtle threat wrapped in a friendly invitation. Catherine noticed my expression. What's wrong? Nothing. Just. I forced a smile. Work email. I need to make a call. I fled to the master bedroom, locking the door behind me. My hands shook as I pulled up Luca's contact. He found me, I texted. Daniel. Wants to meet tomorrow. The response came immediately. Don't respond yet. I'm handling the Russo situation. We'll be home tonight. We'll discuss then. Then after a pause. You did the right thing telling me. Had I? Or had I just condemned my brother before even meeting him? I stared at the text from Daniel. My half-brother. Blood I didn't know I had. Did he know about me? About Elena? Or did he just see us as connections to the father we'd all lost? Against my better judgment, I typed a response. How did you get this number? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm FBI. I can get any number. And I know everything, Vivienne. About you, about your sister, about your new husband. We need to talk before it's too late. Too late for what? For me to protect you from what's coming. I deleted my responses without sending them. If Luca was monitoring my phone, and he probably was, I couldn't risk engaging. But Daniel's words haunted me. Protect you from what's coming. What did he know that I didn't? Luca returned after midnight. I'd been lying awake in the dark, still fully dressed, when I heard the bedroom door open. He moved silently to the bathroom and I heard water running. When he emerged, he wore only sleep pants, and in the dim light from the windows, I could see fresh bruises blooming across his ribs. "You're hurt," I said, sitting up. He paused as if surprised I was awake. "It's nothing." "It doesn't look like nothing." Vivienne dash. "Let me see." I turned on the bedside lamp. The bruises were worse in the light purple and black, spreading across his left side. His knuckles were split, dried blood crusting the wounds. "What happened at the meeting?" I asked. The Russos denied responsibility for the attack. Said it was a rogue element they had no control over. Luca's jaw tightened. I didn't believe them. "So you fought?" Anthony Russo and I had a disagreement about appropriate responses to provocation. He moved to the bathroom, returning with a first aid kit. "It's handled." "Handled how?" "In a way that ensures they won't move against us again. At least not openly." I should have pressed for details. Should have demanded to know if he'd killed anyone tonight. Instead, I found myself saying, "Sit down. Let me clean those cuts." He looked surprised but obeyed, settling on the edge of the bed. I knelt before him, opening the first aid kit with shaking hands. "You don't have to do this," he said quietly. "I know." But I did it anyway, cleaning the blood from his knuckles with careful precision. He watched me work, his expression unreadable. "You told me about Daniel," he said finally. "You could have met with him without me knowing. Could have heard what he had to say. You're monitoring my phone." "Yes. But you still could have found a way. Used a burner. Met him in secret." His hand came up to cup my face. "Why didn't you?" I didn't have a good answer. Loyalty to a man who'd blackmailed me into marriage? Fear of his retribution? Or something more complicated, the growing, terrifying realization that some part of me was starting to see Luca as mine to protect, just as he saw me as his? "Because he's a stranger," I said finally. "And you're my husband. For better or worse." "Worse, definitely worse." "Definitely." I applied antiseptic to his knuckles and he hissed. "But you're the devil, I know." Such a ringing endorsement. But there was something warm in his eyes. Something almost like affection. "What are you going to do about Daniel?" I asked. "Meet with him. Find out what he knows, what he wants." Luca's expression hardened. "And make it clear that you're off limits. He's my brother. He's an FBI agent investigating my family. That supersedes blood." His hand tightened on my face. "You don't contact him, you don't meet him, you don't engage." "Understood." "And if he contacts Elena?" Luca went very still. "Has he?" "Not yet. But if he knows about me, he knows about her. I'll have her protected. Increased security monitoring." He released me, standing. "She won't even know it's there." The casual invasion of Elena's privacy should have outraged me. Instead, I felt something like relief. "Thank you," I said. He looked surprised. "For what?" "For keeping her safe. Even if your methods are questionable." "Everything about me is questionable, Vivienne. You should remember that before you start developing tender feelings." "I don't have tender feelings." "No." He pulled me to my feet, close enough that I could feel the heat of his skin. "Then why are your hands shaking? Why did you wait up for me? Why did you care that I was hurt?" "Basic human decency. We both know there's nothing decent about what we're doing." His lips brushed my temple. "You're starting to care about me. Admit it." "I care about not becoming a widow." "Liar." But he said it almost fondly. "It's all right. I won't tell anyone your terrible secret." He stepped back and I immediately felt the loss of his warmth. "Get some sleep," he said, climbing into his side of the bed. "Tomorrow I'm taking you to meet someone." "Who?" "Someone who can teach you what you need to survive in this world." He turned off the lamp, plunging us into darkness. "Because whether you like it or not, Vivienne, you're part of this now. And I need you to be ready for what's coming." I lay in the dark, listening to his breathing even out. My mind raced with everything I'd learned today: Daniel, the hidden assets, the Russo conflict, the growing complexity of my feelings toward the man beside me. I'd thought this marriage was simple, captivity in exchange for Elena's safety. A transaction with a clear end date. But nothing about Luca Moretti was simple. And I was beginning to realize that the 5-year countdown to freedom might be more of a life sentence than I'd imagined. Because somewhere between hatred and desire, between fear and fascination, I was starting to understand what Catherine had meant. I was starting to see shades of gray where I'd once seen only black and white. And that terrified me more than any threat Luca had ever made. Chapter 5. Breaking Point. The woman Luca wanted me to meet lived in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. We drove there in tense silence, the morning after the revelations about Daniel. I'd barely slept, my mind churning with questions I couldn't ask and answers I wasn't sure I wanted. Her name is Valentina Russo, Luca said as we pulled up to the building. Anthony Russo's sister. I turned to him sharply. The same Russos who attacked your shipment? Who you fought with last night? The same. He exited the car, coming around to open my door. Val and I have history. What kind of history? His expression was carefully neutral. The kind that ended badly. But she's the best at what she does. Which is surviving. He led me into the lobby, past a doorman who nodded respectfully. Val was married into the Moretti family. To my uncle. When he died, she could have left, gone back to her own family. Glad she stayed. Built her own power base. Now both families respect her, fear her, and can't quite control her. Sounds like my kind of woman. Luca's lips quirked. That's what I'm counting on. The elevator opened directly into a sprawling penthouse decorated in shades of cream and gold. Expensive art adorned the walls, including what looked like an original Rothko. And standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, silhouetted against the morning light, was Valentina Russo. She was striking rather than beautiful, tall, angular, with black hair cut in a severe bob and eyes the color of flint. She wore a white silk suit that probably cost more than a car, and when she turned to face us, her smile was sharp as a blade. Luca. Still alive, I see. Pity. Val. Still bitter, I see. Also a pity. They stared at each other with a hostility that crackled in the air. Then Valentina's gaze shifted to me. So this is the unfortunate girl you trapped into marriage. She's prettier than Sophia was. Let's hope she's smarter too. I stiffened. I can speak for myself. Can you? She moved closer, circling me like a predator. Then speak. Tell me why you married this bastard. He didn't give me a choice. Everyone has a choice. You made yours. She stopped in front of me. The question is, do you regret it yet? I glanced at Luca, who watched this exchange with unreadable eyes. Every day, I admitted. Valentina laughed, a genuine sound. Good. At least you're honest. That's more than most Moretti wives manage. She gestured to a seating area. Sit. We have much to discuss. Once we were settled, Luca and I on one sofa, Valentina in a chair across from us, she poured coffee from a silver service. Luca tells me you need education, she said, handing me a delicate cup. In how to survive his world. I need to understand it, I corrected. There's a difference. No, there isn't. Understanding doesn't save you. Strategy does. Ruthlessness does. Knowing where the bodies are buried does. Literally or figuratively? Both. She sipped her coffee. I'm going to teach you 3 things, Vivienne. First, how power really works in organized crime. Second, how to read people and situations to stay alive. Third, how to make yourself indispensable so they can't get rid of you even if they want to. They. I glanced at Luca. Your husband. His family. The other families. Everyone who will see you as either a weakness to exploit or a threat to eliminate. Valentina set down her cup. You think marrying Luca made you safe? It made you a target. I know that. Do you? Then tell me, why did the Russos attack Luca's shipment yesterday? I hesitated. To start a war? Wrong. They attacked because they found out about you. About your FBI brother. She leaned forward. Word travels fast in our world. Daniel Castellano requesting files on his dead father, then discovering he has 2 sisters, one of whom just married into the Moretti family? That's valuable information. My blood ran cold. How do you know about Daniel? I know everything, darling. It's how I've survived. She glanced at Luca. My brother thinks you married Vivienne to use her against the FBI. He's planning to kidnap her, torture her, make her call her brother and lure him into a trap. Over my dead body, Luca said quietly. That can be arranged. Valentina's smile was arctic. But I convinced Anthony to wait. Told him I'd feel out the situation first. See if there's a better play. And is there? I asked. That depends on you. She turned those flint-colored eyes on me. What's your endgame, Vivienne? Survive 5 years and escape? Help your brother take down the Morettis? Or something else entirely? The question hung in the air. Luca went very still beside me. I don't know, I admitted. I'm trying to survive day by day. Not good enough. In this world you need a plan. Multiple plans. Contingencies for every contingency. Valentina stood, moving to a desk and retrieving a folder. This is everything I've compiled on Daniel Castellano. His cases, his methods, his weaknesses. Study it. Know him better than he knows himself. He handed me the folder. I took it with shaking hands. Why are you helping me? I asked. Because I like you. And because I'm tired of watching Moretti men destroy the women they claim to love. She shot Luca a poisonous look. Your uncle destroyed me. I won't let his nephew do the same to you. I'm not destroying her, Luca protested. Not yet. But you will. It's in your nature. Valentina returned to her seat. Here's what you need to understand about the Moretti men, Vivienne. They don't know how to love without possessing. They confuse control with care. And they'll sacrifice anything including you to maintain their power. That's not true, Luca said, but there was no conviction in it. Isn't it? When Daniel comes for you and he will, what will you do? Protect Vivienne or protect the family? Both. You can't. Eventually you'll have to choose. And we all know which you'll pick. The certainty in her voice chilled me. Because she was right. When it came down to it, Luca would choose his family over me. His empire over my freedom. I was just a piece on his chessboard, expendable if necessary. The first lesson, Valentina said, turning back to me, is this. Never depend on anyone but yourself. Not your husband, not his family, not even your brother. Everyone has an agenda. Trust no one completely. That sounds lonely. It's survival. She refilled her coffee. The second lesson. Information is currency. The more secrets you know, the more valuable you become. Start collecting them. Everyone in this world has something to hide. Including you? I challenged. She smiled. Especially me. Which is why I'm still alive. We spent the next 3 hours in that penthouse. Valentina taught me how to read body language, how to spot lies, how to navigate the complex web of alliances and betrayals that defined organized crime. She taught me about the 5 families of New York, their hierarchies, their rivalries. About which men could be trusted and which would smile while plotting your death. She taught me that women in this world had power, but only if they were smart enough to claim it without threatening the men's egos. We rule from the shadows, she said. We whisper in their ears, plant seeds and let them think decisions were their own. It's manipulation, yes. But it's also survival. Luca remained silent through most of this, watching me absorb information like a sponge. Occasionally Valentina would say something particularly cutting about the Moretti family and he'd tense. But he never interrupted. Finally, as noon approached, Valentina stood. That's enough for today. You look exhausted. She handed me a business card. My private number. Call me if you need anything, advice, information, or just someone who understands what it's like to be trapped in this world. Thank you, I said sincerely. Don't thank me yet. What I'm teaching you is dangerous. The more you know, the more dangerous you become to others and to yourself. She walked us to the elevator. One more thing, Vivienne. When you meet your brother, and you will meet him despite Luca's precautions, remember. He wants to save you. But saving you means destroying your husband. You need to decide which matters more. The elevator doors closed on her enigmatic smile. In the car, Luca was quiet for several blocks before finally speaking. She's right, you know. About me. I looked at him in surprise. About what? That I'll choose my family over you. When push comes to shove. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. I wish it weren't true. But it is. The admission hurt more than it should have. Then why tell me? I asked. Why not let me believe? Because I don't want to lie to you. Not about this. He glanced over. You deserve to know what you're dealing with. Who you're dealing with. A man who'll sacrifice me if necessary. A man who'll try like hell to find a solution that doesn't require sacrifice. But yes, if it comes down to you or my family, I'll choose them. He pulled over suddenly, parking on a side street. Does that change things between us? Things between us? We barely have things between us, Luca. We have a contract and proximity. We have more than that and you know it. He was right. Somewhere in the past week something had shifted. The antagonism was still there, but layered beneath it was something else. Traction, yes. But also a strange kind of understanding. We were both trapped, him by family obligation, me by his blackmail. Both playing roles we hadn't chosen. What did Valentina mean about your uncle destroying her? I asked, changing the subject. Luca's expression darkened. Marcello married Val when she was 22. He was 45. It was a strategic alliance between families. Like ours. Worse. So was Phil. He enjoyed causing pain, physical and psychological. Val endured 15 years of marriage to him before he died of a heart attack. She must have been relieved. She threw a party. Literally. The biggest, most expensive celebration you've ever seen. Called it a liberation gala. Luca almost smiled at the memory. My father was furious. Said she was disrespecting the family. But Val didn't care. She'd earned her freedom. Did she love him? At first. I don't know. I was young when they married. But I remember watching her change over the years. The light dying in her eyes. The way she'd flinch when Marcello touched her. His jaw clenched. I swore I'd never be like him. Never break someone that way. And yet you forced me to marry you. I did. But I'm not breaking you, Vivienne. If anything, you're becoming stronger. He turned to face me fully. That terrifies me. Why? Because strong women are dangerous. They don't stay where you put them. They don't forgive easily. And they sure as hell don't fall in love with their captors. Is that what you want? For me to fall in love with you? The question hung between us, charged with possibilities. I don't know what I want, he admitted. I just know that watching you with Val today, seeing you learn how to navigate my world, I realized something. What? You're going to be magnificent. And when you are, you won't need me anymore. You'll have the knowledge, the connections, the power to walk away and never look back. Isn't that what you want? 5 years and freedom. I thought so. His hand came up to cup my face. Now I'm not so sure. Before I could process that, his phone rang. He answered with a curse. What? When? His expression went from concerned to furious in seconds. I'm on my way. He ended the call and started the car with jerky movements. What's wrong? I asked. Elena's been taken. The world stopped. What? By who? The Russos. They grabbed her outside her dorm 20 minutes ago. He was already speeding through traffic, jaw set. Marco's mobilizing everyone. We'll get her back. You said you'd protect her. I grabbed his arm. You promised she'd be safe. I know. And I will fix this. But there was something in his eyes, guilt? Fear. That made my stomach drop. This is because of me, isn't it? Because I married you, because of Daniel, because Because the Russos see an opportunity and they're taking it. He pulled out his phone, making a call. Marco. Any update? Good. Set it up. I'm 10 minutes out. He hung up and looked at me. They want a trade. A trade for what? You for Elena. My blood ran cold. What? Anthony Russo sent a message. He'll return Elena unharmed in exchange for you. Noon tomorrow at the docks. Then let's do it. Make the trade. No. Luca. I said no. His voice cracked like a whip. I'm not handing you over to that bastard. He'll torture you for information about Daniel, then kill you anyway. But Elena will be rescued. We have 12 hours to plan an extraction. Marco's already working on it. And if the plan fails? If they hurt her while we're planning? They won't. Anthony knows that if Elena is harmed, there's no leverage. She's safe as long as she's useful. The cold calculation in his voice, treating my sister like a bargaining chip, ignited something in me. This is your fault, I said quietly. You brought me into this world. You made me a target and now Elena's paying the price. I know. That's all you have to say? You know. What do you want me to say, Vivienne? That I'm sorry? I am. That I'd undo this if I could? I would. But we are where we are and now we deal with it. By sacrificing my sister? By saving her. He pulled up to the mansion, gravel spraying. I have the best team in the city working on this. We will get her back. You better. Because if anything happens to her, you'll what? He turned on me, eyes blazing. Hate me? You already do. Leave me. You can't. Kill me. Get in line. We stared at each other, fury and fear crackling between us. Then without thinking I slapped him. The crack echoed in the confined space. Luca's head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on his cheek. For a long moment neither of us moved. Then he laughed a dark, broken sound. Feel better? He asked. No. And then, inexplicably, I was crying. Great, heaving sobs that I couldn't control. She's my baby sister. She's all I have. If they hurt her, they won't. Luca pulled me against him, his arms coming around me with surprising gentleness. I swear to you, Vivienne. On my life, on my family, on everything I am, we will get Elena back safely. I wanted to believe him. Needed to believe him. But as I clung to my husband, my captor, my enemy, my only hope, I realized how completely my life had spiraled out of control. For weeks ago I was planning a legitimate business. Now I was married to a mobster, being taught by his ex-enemy how to survive organized crime, and my sister had been kidnapped because of choices I'd made. Choices I'd had no choice but to make. I can't lose her, I whispered against Luca's chest. You won't. I promise. But promises from a man like Luca Moretti were written in blood. And I was terrified of what price we'd have to pay to keep this one. The next 12 hours were a nightmare. Marco assembled a team of 20 men, all armed, all loyal, all willing to die for the Moretti name. They gathered in the mansion's basement, a room I hadn't known existed, filled with weapons and tactical equipment that looked military-grade. The Russos are holding her in a warehouse by the docks, Marco explained, pointing to a map on the table. Heavily guarded. 6 men outside, unknown number inside. Snipers? Luca asked. Likely. We're assuming standard perimeter security. They talked strategy, entry points, extraction routes, contingencies. The language was clinical, detached. They could have been planning a business merger instead of a rescue mission. I sat in the corner watching, useless. Valentina's lessons in reading people and situations seemed laughably inadequate now. What good was manipulation when my sister was being held at gunpoint? Around midnight Luca came to me. You should try to sleep, he said. I can't. Then at least come upstairs. You don't need to see this. Yes, I do. I looked up at him. This is my fault. The least I can do is witness the consequences. He crouched before me. This isn't your fault. It's the world we live in. Violence, kidnapping, retaliation, it's all part of the game. It's not a game. It's my sister's life. I know. He took my hands. And I know you're scared. But Vivienne, you need to trust me. I've done this before. We'll get her back. Who else have you rescued? He hesitated. When Marco was 20, he was taken by a rival family. Held for 3 days. I got him back. At what cost? 7 dead on their side, 2 on ours. Said so matter-of-factly. But Marco came home alive. 2 of his own men dead to save his brother. Would he risk the same for Elena? Or would he cut his losses if the plan went sideways? What if something goes wrong? I whispered. Then we adapt. But Vivienne, look at me. He tilted my chin up. I will not let your sister die. Even if it means I have to walk in there alone and trade myself for her. You'd do that? For you? Yes. The admission hung in the air, raw and unexpected. Why? I asked. I'm just a means to an end. A business transaction. You were. His thumb brushed over my lower lip. You're not anymore. Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He checked it and stood abruptly. They moved up the timeline. The trade is happening in 1 hour. What? Why? I don't know. But we move now or we lose our window. He barked orders to Marco, then turned back to me. Stay here. Lock yourself in the master bedroom. Don't open the door for anyone but me. I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. She's my sister, Luca. I have a right, You have a right to stay alive. His voice rose. If you come and something goes wrong, if they grab you too, then I've lost all leverage. Please, Vivienne. For once, just do what I'm telling you. I wanted to argue. Wanted to fight. But the genuine fear in his eyes stopped me. Fine, I said. But Luca? Bring her home. I will. I promise. He kissed me then hard and desperate like it might be the last time. Then he was gone and I was alone with my terror and my prayers. I didn't stay in the bedroom. As soon as I heard the cars leave, I called the one person who might understand what I was going through. Valentina? It's Vivienne. I need help. 15 minutes later she arrived at the mansion, still impeccably dressed despite the late hour. Tell me everything, she demanded. I did. The kidnapping, the moved timeline, Luca's rescue mission. Valentina's expression grew darker with each detail. This doesn't make sense, she muttered. Anthony wouldn't move up the timeline without reason. Unless what? She looked at me sharply. Unless someone told him about Luca's plan. Someone on the inside. My stomach dropped. A traitor. Possibly. Or just someone with divided loyalties. She pulled out her phone. I need to make a call. She spoke in rapid Italian, her voice growing more agitated. When she hung up, her expression was grim. What? I demanded. My brother just left his house. Heavily armed, heading toward the docks. Isn't that where the trade is happening? Yes. But the warehouse Marco identified is a decoy. Anthony's planning an ambush. She grabbed my arm. Luca's walking into a trap and we have less than 30 minutes to warn him. The world tilted. Call him. Tell him dash. His phone will be off. Protocol during operations. Valentina was already moving toward the door. We have to go ourselves. Go? To the docks? Where there's about to be a gunfight. Unless you want your husband and your sister to die, yes. She pulled out a sleek pistol from her purse, checking the magazine. I assume you don't know how to shoot. I've never held a gun in my life. Wonderful. Stay behind me and try not to get killed. He handed me a phone. Call Daniel. What? Why? Because he's FBI and he's been monitoring Russo activity for months. He'll have backup close. Tell him his sister is about to be executed unless he gets to Pier 49 in the next 20 minutes. But Luca said dash. Luca's about to die unless we do something. Now call. With shaking hands, I dialed the number Daniel had texted from. He answered on the first ring. Vivienne. I'm your half-sister. The Russos have Elena at Pier 49. If you want to save her, if you want to meet me, you'll get there in 20 minutes with everything you have. I hung up before he could respond. Valentina smiled grimly. Good. Now let's see if we can keep everyone alive long enough to regret this. We raced toward the docks and I realized with crystal clarity that this was the moment Valentina had warned me about. The moment I'd have to choose. Save my husband or save my sister. Trust my brother or trust the man who'd forced me into this nightmare. Or find some impossible third option that kept everyone alive. As we pulled up to the dark warehouse district, hearing gunfire already echoing across the water, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Tonight everything would change. And there was no going back. Chapter 6, All In. The sound of gunfire shattered the night. Valentina killed the headlights as we approached Pier 49, parking behind a shipping container. In the distance, muzzle flashes lit up the darkness like deadly fireflies. Stay low, she ordered, checking her weapon. And stay close. We moved through the maze of containers, the acrid smell of gunpowder thick in the air. My heart hammered so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. A body lay sprawled ahead, one of Luca's men, I thought, based on the suit. Dead eyes stared at nothing. I swallowed bile and kept moving. There, Valentina whispered, pointing. Through the gaps between containers I could see them. Luca and Marco pinned down behind a concrete barrier by at least a dozen Russo soldiers. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. But no sign of Elena. Where is she? I hissed. If Anthony's smart, she's nowhere near the fight. Probably in that building. Valentina indicated a warehouse at the far end of the pier. But we can't get to her with all this dash. The distinctive wail of sirens cut through the gunfire. Everyone froze. FBI. Drop your weapons. The voice came from behind the Russo position. Daniel. He'd actually come. Chaos erupted. The Russos scattered, some running for the water, others returning fire toward the new threat. Federal agents swarmed the area, and suddenly the neat ambush dissolved into a three-way firefight. Now, Valentina grabbed my arm, dragging me toward the warehouse while everyone was distracted. We made it inside a cavernous space filled with crates and shadows. And there, tied to a chair in the center, was Elena. "Vivi!" she screamed through her gag. I ran to her, my hands shaking as I fumbled with the ropes. I'm here, you're okay, Dash." Touching reunion. I spun to find Anthony Russo emerging from the shadows, gun trained on Valentina. "Val, should have known you'd betray your own family. You betrayed them first when you used an innocent girl as bait." Valentina's weapon was already up, aimed at Anthony's head. "Let them go." "Can't do that. This one," he gestured to me with his gun, "is my insurance policy. Her FBI brother is out there and she's my ticket to walking out of here." "The FBI doesn't negotiate with kidnappers," I said, still working on Elena's ropes. "They do when the kidnapper has the sister of one of their agents and the wife of their primary target." Anthony smiled coldly. "I'll trade you both for safe passage. Everyone wins." "Except Luca," Valentina said. "Especially Luca. The FBI will finally have enough to take him down, the Morettis will be weakened, and the Russos will fill the power vacuum." He moved closer. "It's perfect." I finally freed Elena's hands. She ripped off her gag, gasping. "Vivi, I'm sorry, they just grabbed me and I didn't know what to do." "Shoo, it's okay." I pulled her behind me, putting myself between her and Anthony's gun. "How noble," he sneered. "The big sister protecting the innocent. But you're not so innocent anymore, are you, Mrs. Moretti? How many crimes have you witnessed? How much blood is on your hands by association?" "None," I said. "I'm a victim just like Elena." "Are you? Then why did you call your FBI brother instead of letting your husband rescue you both? Why involve federal agents if you're really on Luca's side?" The question hung in the air and I realized with sinking dread that he was right. I'd made my choice the moment I called Daniel. I'd chosen Elena's safety over Luca's. Chosen family over the man who'd forced me to marry him. And now Luca would pay the price. "Drop the gun, Val," Anthony ordered. "Or I put a bullet in Vivienne's head and let her brother find the body." Valentina's jaw tightened. For a long moment I thought she might refuse. Then slowly she lowered her weapon. "Good. Kick it over." She did. Anthony retrieved it, now holding two guns. "On your knees. Both of you." "Elena's not part of this," I protested. "She is now." He grabbed Elena, yanking her away from me. She screamed and I lunged forward. A gunshot cracked. Anthony stumbled, blood blooming across his shoulder. His grip on Elena loosened and she ran back to me. I looked up to see Luca in the warehouse entrance, gun still raised, eyes wild. "Get away from my wife," he growled. More of his men poured in behind him, Marco and at least 6 others. Anthony's backup was nowhere to be seen. Probably dead or arrested. "Luca." Anthony clutched his shoulder, backing up. "This is between our families. The girl is innocent, The girl is my sister-in-law. That makes her family. And you don't touch my family." Luca advanced, each step measured and terrifying. This wasn't the smooth businessman I'd married. This was the monster beneath, cold, lethal, unstoppable. "You kidnapped an innocent woman. Threatened my wife. Tried to set up an ambush that would have killed my brother." Luca's voice was eerily calm. "Give me one reason I shouldn't kill you right now." "Because the FBI is outside." Anthony's voice cracked. "You shoot me, they'll hear it, they'll come and dash." "Let them come." Luca raised his gun, aiming at Anthony's head. "Luca, stop." I scrambled to my feet, putting myself between them. "Don't do this." His eyes snapped to mine. "Move, Vivienne." "No. He kidnapped your sister. He threatened you. Move. I won't let you become a murderer because of me." My voice shook but I held my ground. "You kill him now, in front of Elena, in front of me, you can never take that back. I've killed before. Not in front of me. Not like this." I moved closer until the barrel of his gun pressed against my stomach. "Please. Let the FBI have him. Let him go to prison. But don't do this." We stared at each other and I saw the war in his eyes. Rage versus reason. Vengeance versus restraint. "He hurt you," Luca said, his voice breaking slightly. He took what's mine. I'm not yours to take. I placed my hand over his on the gun. I'm yours because I choose to be. And I'm choosing to ask you, please don't do this. For a long, terrible moment I thought he'd pull the trigger anyway. Then he lowered the gun. Get him out of here, he told Marco. Before I changed my mind. Marco and two others grabbed Anthony, dragging him toward a side exit. The wounded man's relieved expression lasted only until Marco leaned in close and whispered something that made his face go white. Luca, I started. Not now. He pulled me into his arms, crushing me against his chest. His heart hammered against my ear. Christ, Vivienne. When I realized they had you too, I'm fine. Elena's fine. He pulled back enough to look at me and I saw something I'd never seen before in his eyes. Fear. You called the FBI, he said quietly. You called your brother. To save you. And Elena. You could have gotten me arrested. Could have ended everything. I know. I touched his face, feeling the rough stubble, the tension in his jaw. But I also knew you'd die if I didn't. So I chose you. Even knowing what it might cost. His expression shifted, confusion, wonder, something almost like hope. Why? Before I could answer, Daniel Castellano burst through the main entrance, gun drawn, a dozen agents behind him. FBI. Nobody move. He swept the room, taking in the scene. Me in Luca's arms, Elena crying behind us, Valentina calmly retrieving her gun from where Anthony had dropped it, and Luca's men still lingering in the shadows. When Daniel's eyes landed on me, I saw my own features reflected back, same nose, same stubborn chin, same dark eyes that had been our father's. Vivienne Castellano? He asked. Vivienne Moretti, I corrected and felt Luca's arms tighten around me. And this is my husband, Luca. Daniel's expression hardened as he looked at Luca. Luca Moretti. I've been investigating you for 2 years. I'm aware. Luca's voice was cool. Your surveillance has been sloppy. Luca, I warned. Daniel holstered his weapon but kept his hand near it. I'm going to need statements from everyone. Starting with he looked at Elena. Are you all right? Did they hurt you? Elena shook her head, still clinging to me. She needs medical attention, I said. And probably trauma counseling. Can we do this somewhere else? Somewhere safe. Daniel nodded slowly. We have a field office 10 minutes from here. But he looked at Luca again. He doesn't come. Then I don't come either, I said immediately. Vivienne, he's under investigation for racketeering, money laundering, murder. Then investigate him. But I'm his wife and I'm not leaving him to be ambushed by your people or what's left of the Russos or anyone else who wants him dead tonight. I stepped out of Luca's arms to face my brother fully. You wanted to meet me? You wanted to protect me? Then protect all of us. Right now. Daniel stared at me like I was a stranger. Do you have any idea what you're saying? What he is? I know exactly what he is. I also know he just took a bullet meant for me 6 months ago. A lie, but Daniel wouldn't know that. And he saved my sister tonight. So yes, I know what he is. The question is, are you my brother or are you just another Fed looking for a collar? The challenge hung in the air. Finally, Daniel's shoulders sagged. Hey, everyone comes. But Moretti, you so much as breathe wrong and I'll put you in cuffs. Understood. Perfectly, Luca said with a cold smile. The FBI field office was exactly as depressing as I'd expected. Fluorescent lights, uncomfortable chairs, coffee that tasted like battery acid. They separated us immediately. Elena went with a female agent who specialized in trauma victims. Valentina was escorted to one room, Luca to another, and I was left with Daniel in what was clearly an interrogation room. Despite their insistence, it was just for informal questioning. Tell me everything, Daniel said, setting up a recording device. From the beginning. So I did. Most of it anyway. I told him about our father's debt. About the ultimatum. About marrying Luca to protect Elena. What I didn't tell him, that I'd started to care for my captor. That some part of me had chosen this life, not been forced into it. That when I saw Luca facing down Anthony Russo, my first thought wasn't let him die, but save him. So he's blackmailed you, Daniel said when I finished. Forced you into marriage, isolated you from your friends and family. Vivienne, that's human trafficking. We can protect you. Get you out. I don't want out. He blinked. What? I don't want out. Not yet. I leaned forward. Daniel, can I call you that? Of course. You're my sister. Then as my brother, I need you to understand something. Yes, Luca forced me to marry him. Yes, I'm trapped. But he also kept Elena safe until tonight anyway. He's given me opportunities one never would have had. And I struggled for words. He's not what I expected. Stockholm Syndrome, Daniel said gently. It's common in hostage situations. Maybe. Or maybe I'm starting to see that the world isn't as black and white as I thought. I met his eyes. Our father was a criminal, Daniel. He stole from the Morettis. He killed someone to pay off his debts. Does that make him evil? Or desperate? It makes him a criminal. Just like your husband. Then what does that make us? We're his children. We share his blood, his DNA. Are we criminals by association? That's not the same thing. Isn't it? I stood pacing. You've spent your whole career hunting people like Luca. People like our father. But did you ever stop to think about the families they leave behind? The daughters who had no choice in any of this. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. I think about it every day. It's why I do this job, to stop men like Luca Moretti from creating more victims. Then stop him. Investigate him, build your case, arrest him when you have enough evidence. I turned to face my brother. But leave me and Elena out of it. We're not your way in. We're not your informants. We're just trying to survive. You could testify. Against him. Against all of them. And then what? Witness protection? New identities? Never seeing our friends again, never living in the same city, always looking over our shoulders. I shook my head. That's not protection, Daniel. That's another prison. It's freedom. No. Freedom is being able to choose your own path. And I'm choosing to stay with my husband. Even knowing what he is. Especially knowing what he is. I sat back down. Look, I can't explain it in a way you'll understand. But Luca Moretti might be a monster, but he's my monster. And I'm learning to be his. Daniel looked at me like I was a stranger. I wanted to save you. When I found out about you and Elena, I thought finally, some good that can come from Dad's death. I can protect his daughters. He can. By leaving us alone. I can't do that. Then arrest Luca. Right now. Charge him with whatever you have. I called his bluff. But you won't. Because you don't have enough yet. And you're hoping I'll give it to you. His silence was answer enough. I won't, I said quietly. I won't help you destroy him. Not because I'm afraid and not because I'm brainwashed. But because. I took a breath. Because I care about him. God help me, I care about what happens to him. Then you're lost. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally found. I stood. Are we done here? Because my sister needs me and my husband is probably being interrogated by one of your colleagues, and I'd like to go home. To his home. His cage. To our home. I opened the door. And Daniel, for what it's worth, I'm glad I got to meet you. I'm glad to know I have a brother. But I can't be who you want me to be. I can't be your key to taking down the Morettis. Can you be my sister? He asked quietly. Can we at least have that? I considered. Having a relationship with an FBI agent while married to a mob boss seemed like a disaster waiting to happen. But he was my brother. My blood. And I'd lost enough family already. Yes, I said finally. But on my terms. We meet outside the investigation. We don't talk about Luca's business. We just be siblings. If you can accept that. He nodded slowly. I can try. Then we'll try together. I found Luca in another interrogation room, looking completely unbothered despite the aggressive questioning from two agents. When I walked in, his expression transformed relief and something warmer flooding his features. Mrs. Moretti, one of the agents said stiffly. We're not finished, Dash. Yes, you are. I went to Luca's side. Unless you're charging my husband with something, we're leaving. We have questions about Dash. Then schedule a formal interview through his lawyer. But right now we're taking my traumatized sister home. They couldn't stop us. Not without charges, not without evidence. We collected Elena exhausted and shaking but physically unharmed and walked out of the FBI building together. Valentina was waiting by her car, smoking a cigarette with elegant disdain. Well, she said. That was entertaining. How did you get out so fast? I asked. Diplomatic immunity. Perks of having dual citizenship. She stubbed out the cigarette. I'll be in touch, Vivienne. We have much more to discuss. She left and we were alone in the parking lot, me, Luca, Elena and Marco hovering nearby with the car. Take Elena to the mansion, Luca told his brother. Make sure she has everything she needs. Medical care, counseling, whatever. I want to stay with Vivi, Elena protested weakly. You will. But first you need rest. He looked at me. We'll be home soon. I just need to talk to your sister. Marco led Elena away gently. She looked back at me with frightened eyes and I tried to project confidence I didn't feel. Then we were alone. You chose me, Luca said without preamble. I chose everyone. I tried to save everyone. But when it came down to it, when you had to call for help, you called your FBI brother to save me. He moved closer. Why? Because you were walking into a trap. Because I stopped, the words catching in my throat. Because you what? Because I couldn't imagine a world without him in it. Because somewhere between hatred and captivity I'd started to care whether he lived or died. Because maybe, impossibly, I was falling for my captor. Because you're my husband, I said instead. For better or worse. And tonight was definitely worse. He cupped my face in both hands, searching my eyes. You're lying. There's more. There's always more with you, Luca. You're the most complicated man I've ever met. And you're the most infuriating woman I've ever encountered. But he said it with something like affection. You were supposed to be simple. A transaction. A means to an end. I could say the same about you. You were supposed to be a monster. Easy to hate. I am a monster. I know. I covered his hands with mine. But you're my monster. And I'm starting to think that maybe I don't want to be free of you. His breath caught. Vivienne. Don't say anything. I pulled his hands from my face. I'm not saying I love you. I'm not even saying I forgive you for what you did. But I am saying that tonight when I thought you might die, I realized something. What? That I'd rather be in a cage with you than free without you. And I don't know if that makes me strong or weak or just completely insane. Insane, he said immediately. Definitely insane. Probably. I managed a weak laugh. But I'm choosing it anyway. Choosing you. Not because I have to, but because I want to. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tightly I could barely breathe. When I saw you in that warehouse, he said against my hair, when I thought Anthony might hurt you, never been that afraid in my life. You hide it well. Years of practice. He pulled back to look at me. I need to tell you something. About your father. My stomach dropped. What about him? We didn't kill him. My family, I mean. The heart attack was real. But your father said dash. My father likes to take credit for things he didn't do. Makes him look powerful. Luca's expression was serious. Vivienne Castellano died of natural causes. Stress-induced cardiac arrest. We didn't cause it, not directly. But the debt, the pressure dash. Contributed, yes. But Vivienne, he died because his body couldn't handle the strain of the choices he'd made. Not because we killed him. I didn't know whether to believe him. Didn't know if it mattered. Dead was dead regardless of the method. Why tell me this now? I asked. Because I don't want lies between us. Not anymore. He tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. I want you to choose me knowing the truth. All of it. All of it. Even the parts that would destroy you. Especially those parts. His smile was sad. Because if you can know the worst of me and still stay, then maybe we have a chance at this. At what? A real marriage. At something real. Whatever that looks like for people like us. People like us. Criminals and their captives. Monsters and their victims. Or maybe just two broken people trying to build something from the ruins of their shattered lives. Hey, I said. Let's try. Try what? Real. Whatever that means. I stood on my toes to kiss him soft at first, then deeper. But Luca, if you betray me, if you hurt Elena or me again dash. I won't. You don't know that. You can't promise that. I can promise to try. To choose you when I can. To protect what's ours. Ours. Not his. Ours. It was progress. Then that's enough, I said. For now. We stood in that parking lot for a long moment, holding each other while sirens wailed in the distance and the city burned around us. And I realized that this imperfect, dangerous, completely insane thing between us was the most honest I'd felt in years. I was choosing my cage. Choosing my captor. Choosing to stay in the darkness because the man beside me made it bearable. Maybe that made me weak. Maybe it made me complicit in everything he'd done and would do. Or maybe it just made me human. Either way, there was no going back now. I was all in. For better or worse. Chapter 7. War. The fallout from Elena's kidnapping came swiftly and brutally. Anthony Russo survived his gunshot wound, but he wouldn't survive what came next. Within 24 hours, the FBI had him in custody on kidnapping charges, and word on the street was that his own family was already moving to replace him. Weakness in their world was fatal. They'll kill him in prison, Luca said casually over breakfast 3 days later. Within the month, I'd wager. I looked up from my coffee. Elena sat beside me, still pale and jumpy, pushing eggs around her plate. She'd insisted on staying at the mansion rather than returning to her dorm, and I didn't have the heart to force her. You sound very certain, I said. I am. I'm the one who arranged it. He said it the same way someone might mention ordering flowers. Elena's fork clattered against her plate. Luca, I warned. What? She's part of this family now. She should understand how it works. He looked at Elena directly. Anthony Russo kidnapped you. Terrorized you. In our world, that debt must be paid. By murdering him? Elena's voice shook. By delivering justice. He made his choice when he touched you. Now he lives with the consequences. Or doesn't live, as the case may be. Elena pushed back from the table and fled. I heard her footsteps pounding up the stairs, then a door slamming. I rounded on Luca. Was that necessary? Yes. He sipped his espresso calmly. She needs to understand what being a Moretti means. The sooner she accepts it, the easier her life will be. She's 19 years old. And you were 24 when you married me. Age doesn't exempt you from reality, Vivienne. He set down his cup. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to prepare her. Because the Russos won't stop with Anthony's death. They'll retaliate. My blood ran cold. Against Elena? Against all of us. It's already started. He pulled out his phone, showing me a news article. 2 of our warehouses burned last night. A shipment was hijacked this morning. And one of Marco's men was found dead in his apartment. I stared at the headline, bile rising in my throat. This is war. This is Tuesday. He pocketed his phone. Welcome to my world, wife. How can you be so calm about this? Because panic gets you killed. Strategy keeps you alive. He stood, buttoning his jacket. I'm meeting with the other families this afternoon. Trying to broker a peace before this escalates further. And if they won't agree to peace? His expression was answer enough. I should go to Elena, I said quietly. You should. But Vivienne. He waited until I met his eyes. She can't go back to Colombia. Not until this is resolved. It's not safe. She has exams. Her whole life can be put on hold to keep her alive. I've already arranged for her professors to be notified. She can finish the semester remotely. The casual way he'd rearranged my sister's life without asking made my temper flare. You can't just make decisions for her. I can, and I did. You can be angry about it, or you can accept that I'm trying to protect her. He moved closer, voice softening. I know you hate when I do this. When I take control without asking. But Vivienne, this is what I do. I identify threats and eliminate them. Right now, Elena being visible, being accessible, that's a threat. He was right and I hated it. Fine, I said. But you tell her. Face the consequences of your decisions. Fair enough. I found Elena in her room, the guest room she'd claimed, decorated in soft blues that Catherine had insisted made young women feel calm. She sat on the bed, knees pulled to her chest, tears streaming silently down her face. Hey, I said softly, sitting beside her. She didn't look at me. I want to go home. I know. I want my life back. My dorm, my friends, my classes. Her voice broke. I want to not be afraid every second of every day. I know, I repeated, putting my arm around her shoulders. But Elena, right now, I know. It's not safe. Luca already told me. She finally looked at me and the accusation in her eyes cut deep. This is because of you. Because you married him. I married him to protect you. Then you failed. She shoved away from me, standing. I got kidnapped anyway. I was tied to a chair with a gun to my head and men were talking about selling me to the highest bidder and I was so scared, Vivi. I've never been that scared in my life. Tears streamed down my face now too. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't make me feel safe again. She was shouting now, years of sheltered innocence shattering in real time. You brought this into our lives. You chose to marry into this family and now I'm trapped too. You're right. I stood facing her. You're absolutely right. I made choices that affected you without your consent. I thought I was protecting you, but all I did was drag you deeper into danger. So what do we do? Her anger crumbled into despair. How do we get out? I don't know if we can. Not safely. Not now. I took her hands. But Elena, I swear to you I will find a way. Even if it takes the full 5 years of my contract, I will get us both out of this. 5 years. She laughed bitterly. You really think Luca Moretti is going to let you go after 5 years? That he'll just tear up the contract and wish you well? I didn't have an answer. Because she was voicing the same fear that kept me awake at night. I'm sorry, I said again helplessly. Stop saying that. She pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. Just leave me alone for a while. Please. I left, closing the door softly behind me, and stood in the hallway feeling more lost than I had since this nightmare began. I'd thought marrying Luca would save Elena. Instead, I'd pulled her into the fire with me. That afternoon I asked Valentina to teach me to shoot. Finally, she said when I called. I was wondering when you'd get smart. We met at a private range outside the city, the kind of place that didn't ask questions and didn't keep records. Valentina provided the weapons. A sleek Glock 19, easy to handle, easy to conceal. First rule, she said, standing behind me to adjust my grip. Never point this at anything you don't intend to destroy. Second rule, if you pull it out, you use it. No hesitation. No warning shots. You shoot to kill. I don't want to kill anyone. You will. Eventually. Better to be prepared. He stepped back. Now target practice. That silhouette is your enemy. Someone who wants to hurt you or Elena. Show me what you do. I raised the gun, hands shaking. Breathe, Valentina instructed. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Squeeze the trigger, don't pull. I fired. The recoil surprised me, the gun bucking in my hands. The bullet went wide, missing the target entirely. Again. I fired again. And again. And again. By the end of the hour I was hitting the target consistently. Not perfectly but well enough. Good, Valentina said, reloading the magazine. Now we practice drawing. In a real situation you won't have time to line up a perfect shot. You need muscle memory. We practiced for another hour until my arms ached and my ears rang despite the protection. Why are you helping me? I asked as we packed up. Luca said you hate the Morettis. I hate what they did to me. But I don't hate you. She handed me the gun, now in a compact holster. Keep this. Luca will be furious that you're armed, which makes it even more important that you are. Won't he know you gave it to me? Probably. Let him be angry. He doesn't own you, Vivienne. Not really. The sooner you both remember that, the better. I slipped the gun into my purse, its weight unfamiliar and oddly comforting. Valentina, can I ask you something personal? You can ask. I may not answer. When did you know? That you couldn't escape Marcello? That you were trapped? She was quiet for a long moment. When I realized I'd stopped trying to leave. Stopped even thinking about leaving. When the cage became home. She met my eyes. Is that how you feel with Luca? Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And it terrifies me. Shit. Because once you accept the cage, you forget how to fly. She touched my cheek gently. Don't forget, Vivienne. No matter how comfortable he makes it, no matter how much you start to care, don't forget that you deserve the sky. Luca's meeting with the other families lasted 6 hours. He returned to the mansion after midnight, looking exhausted and dangerous. I was waiting in the master bedroom, pretending to read but really just worrying. How did it go? I asked as he entered. About as well as expected. The Salvatores are staying neutral. The De Lucas are siding with us. The Russo swats left of them want blood. He shed his jacket, revealing a shoulder holster I'd never seen him wear inside the house before. We have maybe a week before this turns into open warfare. What happens then? People die. Property is destroyed. The FBI gets involved, which helps no one. He removed the holster, locking the gun in a safe I hadn't known existed. And your brother will try to use the chaos to take us all down. I set down my book. I could talk to him. Try to convince him to back off. No. Luca. I said no. Daniel Castellano is a true believer. He thinks he's on a righteous crusade against evil. You can't negotiate with that. He sat on the bed beside me, running a hand through his hair. The only way to handle him is to make sure he has nothing to find. Which means we move operations, clean up loose ends, and prepare for federal scrutiny. Loose ends, I repeated. You mean people. I mean problems. Some of those problems happen to be people who know too much. The casual way he discussed murder made my skin crawl. Even after everything, I still wasn't immune to the horror of it. I don't want to become numb to this, I said quietly. To what? To death. To violence. To treating human lives like chess pieces. I looked at him. How do you do it? How do you make these decisions and still sleep at night? I don't sleep much. He loosened his tie. And when I do, I dream of the people I've killed. The choices I've made. The lives I've ruined. The admission surprised me. You have nightmares? Constantly. My mother mostly. Sometimes others. He finally pulled off the tie, tossing it aside. You think I don't know what I am, Vivienne? I know exactly what I am. I just don't have the luxury of changing it. Everyone has that luxury. You choose not to take it. And you chose to marry me. What does that say about you? The question stung because it was fair. I'm trying to figure that out, I admitted. He pulled me closer, his arms coming around me. When this is over, when the Russos are handled and the FBI backs off, what do you want? What do you mean? For us. For our marriage. Do you want separate rooms again? Distance? Or... He trailed off. Or what? Or do we keep doing this? This thing we've been doing where we pretend we're just playing roles but we both know it's become something more. My heart hammered. What has it become? I don't know. But Vivienne, when I thought you might die tonight, when I saw you in that warehouse dash, his grip tightened. I realized that losing you would destroy me in ways that losing my empire never could. That's not love, Luca. That's possession. Maybe they're the same thing for men like me. Maybe I don't know how to love without owning. His hand came up to cup my face. But I'm trying to learn. You make me want to try. I should have pulled away. Should have reminded him that we were captor and captive, that his love, if that's what this was, had been built on blackmail and force. That I kissed him. It was different from before. Slower. Deeper. Less about desperation and more about choice. When we broke apart, I said, I'm still angry with you. For Elena, for the control, for everything. I know. And I still plan to leave when my 5 years are up. I know that too. But for now, for right now, I choose this. I choose you. Why? Because in a world full of predators, you're the only one who's honest about what you are. Because you've never lied to me about the darkness. And because... I took a breath. Because when you look at me, I feel seen. Really seen. Not as Vincent Castellano's daughter or a means to an end, but as me. Vivienne. And I haven't felt that way in a very long time. He kissed me again, deeper this time, his hands tangling in my hair. I do see you. Every part of you. The strength and the fear. The fire and the vulnerability. And I want all of it. Even the parts that hate you. Especially those parts. He smiled against my lips. They keep me honest. We made love that night, real love, not the angry, desperate coupling from before. Slow and tender and achingly intimate. And afterward, as I lay in his arms listening to his heartbeat, I realized something terrifying. I was falling in love with Luca Moretti. Not because of Stockholm Syndrome or survival instinct or any rational explanation. But because beneath the monster was a man who was trying, however imperfectly, to be better than what his world demanded. And I wanted to believe he could succeed. Even knowing he'd probably fail. The next morning, everything went to hell. I woke to shouting. Gunfire. The smell of smoke. Luca was already up, gun in hand, phone pressed to his ear. How many? He demanded. Where's Marco? Hold them off, I'm coming down. He ended the call and looked at me. Get Elena. Get to the safe room. Now. What's happening? The Russos are attacking the house. He grabbed a second gun from the safe, checking the magazine. They brought an army. This is it, Vivienne. This is war. More gunfire, closer now. Glass shattering. I scrambled out of bed, pulling on jeans and a sweatshirt with shaking hands. The gun Valentina gave me, hidden it in my nightstand drawer. I grabbed it now, checking it the way she taught me. Luca noticed. His expression flickered surprise, then something like pride. You know how to use that? Valentina taught me. Of course she did. He moved to the door. The safe room is behind the library. Third bookshelf, red leather volume of Dante. Pull it and the door opens. Lock yourselves in and don't come out until I come for you. Where will you be? Keeping them from getting to you. He kissed me hard and fast. I love you. I should have said it before, but I'm saying it now. I love you, Vivienne Moretti. Then he was gone, disappearing into the chaos. I stood frozen for a moment, his words echoing in my head. I love you. He'd finally said it. And he might die before I could say it back. I ran to Elena's room, pounding on the door. Elena. We have to go. He emerged, terrified. What's happening? The Russos. They're attacking. I grabbed her hand. Come on. We ran through the mansion, the sounds of battle growing louder. Men shouting. Guns firing. Something exploding. We made it to the library. I found the red Dante volume, pulled it, and the bookshelf swung open to reveal a reinforced steel door. Behind it was a small room, maybe 10 by 10, stocked with water, food, medical supplies, and enough weapons to start a small war. I pushed Elena inside, then hesitated. Luca was out there. Even Catherine, who'd been nothing but kind to me. They were my family now. For better or worse. Lock the door, I told Elena. What? No, Vivi, you can't dash. Lock the door. If I'm not back in an hour, call Daniel. His number is in my phone. I pressed my phone into her hands. Tell him everything. He'll protect you. Vivi, please dash. I love you. Remember that. I closed the door before she could argue, hearing the locks engage. Then I turned back toward the sound of gunfire, gun in hand, and went to find my husband. The mansion was a war zone. Bodies littered the floor. I couldn't tell which were ours and which were theirs. Bullet holes pocked the walls. A fire burned in the east wing, filling the air with acrid smoke. I moved through it all, heart pounding, following the sounds of heaviest fighting. I found them in the grand foyer. Luca, Marco, and maybe a dozen of their men, pinned down behind overturned furniture while Russo soldiers poured in through the shattered front doors. Luca saw me and his expression went from relieved to furious in an instant. What the hell are you doing here? He shouted over the gunfire. I told you to stay in the safe room. Elena's there. I'm here. I raised my gun. Tell me where to shoot. For a moment I thought he'd argue. Send me away. Protect me like I was something fragile. Instead he smiled, that dark, beautiful smile that had first terrified me. Behind the pillar. 3 shooters. On my mark. He waited for a break in the gunfire. Now. I stepped out, aimed, and fired. The gun bucked in my hand. The first shooter went down. Whether I hit him or someone else did, I couldn't tell. But I kept firing until the magazine was empty. When the immediate threat was neutralized, Luca pulled me behind cover. You're insane, he said, but he was grinning. Absolutely insane. I learned from the best. How many of them are there? Marco asked, reloading his weapon. Too many, Luca said grimly. We're outnumbered 3-1. Then we need backup. From who? Everyone else is dealing with their own attacks. The Russos planned this, hit all our properties simultaneously. Luca checked his ammunition. We're on our own. That's when I remembered. Daniel. Luca looked at me sharply. What? My brother. He'd help. If I asked. I pulled out my phone. I grabbed it back from Elena. The enemy of my enemy is still a federal agent who wants me in prison. But he wants me alive more. I was already dialing. Trust me. Please. He stared at me for a long moment. Then nodded. Daniel answered on the first ring. Vivienne? Are you okay? The Moretti mansion is under attack. Multiple shooters, maybe 30 or more. We're outgunned and they're going to kill everyone here, including me and Elena. Where's Elena? Safe room. But Daniel, if we don't stop this, I'm 10 minutes out. We've been monitoring Russo activity all night. Hold on. He hung up. Luca looked at me with something like awe. You just called the FBI for backup. I called my brother to save my family. I reloaded my gun with a magazine Marco tossed me. Both things can be true. You're remarkable, you know that? Tell me when we survive this. The next 10 minutes were the longest of my life. We held the line, barely trading fire with the Russos while our ammunition dwindled. Then finally, sirens. The beautiful sound of sirens. FBI. Drop your weapons. The Russo soldiers scattered. Some ran. Some tried to fight and were cut down by federal agents. Some surrendered. And then it was over. Daniel found me in the foyer, covered in dust and gunpowder residue, still holding my gun. You're okay, he breathed, pulling me into a hug. I'm okay. Lena's okay. We're dash, I pulled back. Thank you. For coming. You're my sister. Of course I came. He looked at Luca, who was being examined by a medic for a graze wound on his arm. But this doesn't change anything. I'm still investigating your husband. I know. But maybe we can find a middle ground. Where you do your job and I protect my family. They're not your family, Vivienne. They're criminals. They're both. I met his eyes. And so was our father. But you don't stop being family just because you're on opposite sides of the law. Daniel was quiet for a long moment. I can't protect him. You know that, right? If I find evidence, I'll use it. I wouldn't expect anything else. Just like he wouldn't expect me not to call you when we needed help. I managed a tired smile. We're all just trying to survive in our own ways. Some of those ways are going to land you in prison. Or worse. Maybe. But it's my choice to make. He shook his head but didn't argue further. I need to process the scene. You should get cleaned up. And Vivienne, next time you're in trouble, call me first. Not as a last resort. Deal. After Daniel left to coordinate with his team, I found Luca in the library staring at the safe room door. Is she okay? I asked. She won't come out. Says she'll only open the door for you. He turned to me. You saved us. You know that, right? If you hadn't called Daniel Dash, we'd all be dead. I know. I moved closer. You said something. Before you went to fight. I said a lot of things. You said you loved me. His expression softened. I did. I do. I'm still figuring out how I feel about that. About you. About all of this. I took his hand. But Luca, when I thought they might kill you, when I was hiding in that safe room and all I could hear was gunfire, I realized something. What? That I'd rather die fighting beside you than live safely without you. And I don't know if that's love or Stockholm Syndrome or just pure insanity, but it's true. He pulled me close and I let myself find comfort in his arms despite everything. We make quite a pair, he murmured against my hair. A monster and his willing captive. More like two damaged people who found each other in the darkness. That too. We stood like that for a long moment, holding each other while federal agents swarmed the mansion and Elena waited behind a steel door and the bodies of our enemies grew cold on our marble floors. This was my life now. Violence and love twisted together. Choosing my cage. Choosing my captor. Choosing to fight for something that would probably destroy me in the end. But as Luca kissed the top of my head and I felt his heartbeat against my cheek, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I was done running from this. Whatever came next, prison or death or some impossible version of happiness, I would face it with him. For better or worse. Until death did us part. Chapter 8. Vows renewed. 6 months later. I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at the pregnancy test in my shaking hands. 2 pink lines. Positive. Vivienne? You okay in there? Luca's voice came through the door. I couldn't answer. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't process what this meant. Baby. Luca's baby. The door opened. I'd forgotten to lock it. Luca stepped in, took one look at my face, then at the test in my hands. Oh, he said softly. Oh. I'm sorry, I whispered. I know we said we'd wait, that we'd figure things out first, but my birth control must have dash. He crossed the room in 2 strides and pulled me into his arms. Don't apologize. Never apologize for this. You're not angry? Angry. He pulled back to look at me and his eyes were suspiciously bright. Vivienne, I'm terrified. I'm overwhelmed. But angry? Never. His hand moved to my still flat stomach. This is everything. I started to cry, then hormones probably, but also relief. Fear. Joy. 1,000 emotions I couldn't name. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. How to raise a child in your world. Our world. We'll figure it out. Together. He kissed my forehead. Like we've figured out everything else. The past 6 months had been a whirlwind. After the attack on the mansion, the Russo family had fractured. Some members fled the city. Others tried to negotiate peace. A few died in ways that were officially ruled accidents. The FBI investigation into Luca had stalled not through my interference, but because he'd been meticulous about cleaning up operations. Daniel had found enough to keep watching but not enough to charge. My brother and I had settled into an uneasy relationship. Monthly dinners where we didn't talk about his investigation or Luca's business. Just siblings trying to know each other. Elena had gone back to Colombia, though with a security detail she pretended not to notice. She was in therapy, processing her trauma and slowly forgiving me for dragging her into this world. And Luca and we'd been building something. Something real. I need to tell you something, I said now, still in his arms. Before we go any further with this. His expression grew wary. What? I found the evidence. What my father stole from your family. Luca went very still. What? 3 weeks ago. It was in a storage unit hidden in boxes of my mother's things. Financial records, testimony, everything your father wanted buried. I met his eyes. Everything that could destroy the Morettis. And you're telling me this now? After you've had it for 3 weeks. I needed to decide what to do with it first. I pulled away, moving to our bedroom safe. I'd changed the combination months ago, a small rebellion Luca had allowed. I opened it and retrieved a USB drive. This is everything. Proof of murders, money laundering, political corruption going back 30 years. Alessandro's entire empire, documented. I held it out to him. I'm giving it to you. He stared at the drive like it was a bomb. Why? Because I'm choosing you. Fully. Completely. No more hedging my bets or planning escapes. I pressed it into his hand. I could have given this to Daniel. Could have used it to buy my freedom, destroy your family and walk away clean. But you didn't. No. Because somewhere in the past 6 months, this stopped being your family and became our family. Because I'm pregnant with your child and I want that child to know their father. And because... I took a breath. Because I love you, Luca. God help me, I love you. I'd never said it before. Never let myself acknowledge it out loud. The effect on Luca was immediate. He set down the drive and cupped my face in both hands, his expression raw with emotion. Say it again, he demanded. I love you. Even though you blackmailed me. Even though you're a criminal and our relationship started with coercion and dash. He kissed me, cutting off my rambling. When he pulled back, he was smiling. I love you too. Have loved you for longer than I should have. Longer than was smart. He pressed his forehead to mine. But Vivienne, this evidence, you can't just give it to me. This is your insurance policy. Your way out if things go wrong. I don't want a way out. Not anymore. I covered his hands with mine. I want to be all in. No escape routes, no backup plans. Just us building something together. You're insane. Probably. But I'm your kind of insane. He laughed, a genuine joyful sound I rarely heard from him. What do I do with this? He picked up the USB drive. Whatever you want. Destroy it. Use it. Keep it as leverage. I trust you. You shouldn't. I know. But I do anyway. He pulled me close again and we stood like that for a long moment, processing everything that had changed. We should get married again, he said suddenly. We are married. I mean really married. Not the ceremony where I forced you to say vows you didn't mean. A real wedding where you choose me because you want to. Where we make promises we actually intend to keep. I pulled back to look at him. You want to renew our vows? I want to marry you. The real you, not the woman I blackmailed into submission. His thumb brushed across my cheekbone. I want to stand before you and promise to be better than I am. To try to be worthy of the choice you're making. You'll never be worthy, I teased. I know. But I'll spend my life trying anyway. We planned the second wedding for a month later, a small, private ceremony with only the people who mattered. No elaborate guest list. No political alliances. Just family. Elena stood beside me as my maid of honor, beautiful in sage green. Marco stood beside Luca, looking surprisingly emotional. Valentina sat in the front row, her expression approving. Catherine cried happy tears. Alessandro watched with calculating eyes, probably already planning how to use the pregnancy to his advantage. And Daniel was there too, standing in the back, arms crossed, looking deeply uncomfortable but present nonetheless. Because I'd asked him to be. And he'd said yes. The ceremony took place in the mansion's garden at sunset, golden light streaming through the trees. Father Dominic officiated again, but this time there was no performance. Just truth. Luca Alessandro Moretti, Father Dominic intoned. Do you take Vivienne Castellano to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do you part? Luca looked at me, and in his eyes I saw everything: the darkness and the light, the violence and the tenderness, the monster and the man. I do, he said. I promise to protect you even from myself. To choose you even when it's hard. To love you even when you make it impossible. A smile tugged at his lips. Which is often. Scattered laughter from our small audience. Father Dominic turned to me. Vivienne Castellano, do you take Luca Alessandro Moretti to be your lawfully wedded husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do you part? I thought about the journey that had brought me here. The blackmail and fear. The slow, terrifying realization that I was falling for my captor. The choice made again and again to stay. I do, I said clearly. I promise to see all of you, darkness included. To stand beside you even when the world says I should run. To love you not despite what you are but because of it. Because you've never lied to me about the monster you can be. I paused. And because beneath that monster is a man trying to be better. And I want to be there to see him succeed. Luca's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Then by the power vested in me, Father Dominic said, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. Again. Luca pulled me close and kissed me, and this time there was no possession in it. No claim of ownership. Just love. Complicated and messy and completely honest. When we broke apart, our small audience applauded. Even Daniel managed a reluctant smile. The reception was held in the mansion's ballroom, but it was nothing like the first one. No dangerous strangers. No forced smiles. Just us, the people we cared about, celebrating something that had grown from darkness into light. Elena pulled me aside at one point, her expression serious. Are you happy? She asked. Really happy? Not just coping. I considered the question. 6 months ago I would have said I was surviving. Making the best of a bad situation. Well, yeah, I said honestly. I am. I know that's hard to understand, Dash. It's not. She smiled, and there was real warmth in it. I've seen how he looks at you. How you look at him. It's not what I would have chosen for you, but... He shrugged. It's your choice to make. And I'm done being angry about it. Elena. I'm still in therapy and I'm still processing everything. But Vivi, I can see that you love him. And weirdly I think he loves you too. In his own messed up way. I hugged her tightly. I love you. You know that, right? I know. And I love you too. Even when you make supremely questionable life choices. We both laughed and it felt good. Normal. Like maybe, just maybe, we could build something healthy from the wreckage. Later, Valentina cornered me by the champagne fountain which I couldn't drink from, thanks to the pregnancy. You gave him the evidence, she said without preamble. I wasn't surprised she knew. Valentina always knew everything. I did. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. She studied me for a long moment. You've changed. When I first met you, you were a captive playing at being strong. Now you actually are strong. I had a good teacher. Yes, you did. She smiled. Don't forget what I taught you, Vivienne. Even in love, even in marriage, never give away all your power. Always keep something for yourself. I will. Good. She raised her glass sparkling cider in solidarity with my pregnancy. To surviving men who don't deserve us and choosing them anyway. I clinked my glass against hers. To making the cage into a home. To burning down the cage and building something better. Even better. That night, after everyone had left and the mansion was quiet, Luca and I stood on the balcony of our bedroom, looking out over the city. His hand rested on my stomach, protective and possessive in equal measure. Are you sure about this? He asked. About all of it? The baby, the vow renewal, giving up your escape route. No, I admitted. I'm terrified. This could all fall apart. You could revert to the man who blackmailed me. I could wake up one day and realize I've made a terrible mistake. But I'm choosing to believe we can be better. That we can build something good from the ashes of how we started. I covered his hand with mine. I'm choosing to have faith in us. Faith, he repeated. Not something I have much experience with. Then it's a good thing I have enough for both of us. He turned me to face him, his expression serious. I need you to know something. About the evidence you gave me. My heart stuttered. What about it? I destroyed it. Wiped it completely, then physically destroyed the drive. He touched my face gently. I don't want that hanging over us. Don't want you to ever wonder if I'm only treating you well because you could destroy me. Luca, that was your father's entire empire. Proof of everything. I know. And it's gone. Because I'd rather face the consequences of my family's sins than have you question whether I love you or just fear you. His thumb brushed across my lower lip. I love you, Vivienne. Not because you have power over me, but because you chose to stay even when you didn't have to. I kissed him then, pouring everything into it, gratitude and love and the terrifying hope that maybe, just maybe, we could make this work. When we broke apart, he said, there's something else you should know. What? I've been restructuring. The business, I mean. Moving away from the illegal operations, legitimizing what I can. It's going to take years and will never be completely clean, but you're trying. For you. For our baby. For the life I want us to have. He paused. I'm also stepping back from day-to-day operations. Letting Marco take over more. I want to be present. For you, for our child. I don't want to be like my father, only seeing my family as extensions of the business. Tears pricked my eyes. You're serious. Completely. I've spent my whole life becoming the man my father wanted me to be. I want to spend the rest of it becoming the man you deserve. I don't deserve anyone. I married into the Mafia, Luca. I'm complicit in everything you do now. Then we'll be complicit together. And maybe if we're lucky we'll build something better for our child. His hand splayed across my stomach again. A world where they have choices. Real choices. I leaned into him, letting him hold me as the city lights twinkled below. We're going to screw this up, I said. You know that, right? We're going to make mistakes. Hurt each other. Fight. Probably. We might not make it. The odds are against us. I know. And you're still willing to try? For you. He kissed the top of my head. I'd try anything. Epilogue 1 year later. The baby's cry pierced the early morning quiet. I groaned, burying my face in the pillow. Luca was already getting up, pulling on sweatpants. I'll get her, he murmured. You sleep. But I was already awake, so I followed him to the nursery. Lucia Valentina Moretti, named for her father and the woman who'd taught me to survive, screamed in her crib, tiny fists waving. She had Luca's dark hair and my eyes, and she'd already mastered the art of demanding exactly what she wanted. He was perfect. Luca scooped her up and she immediately quieted, snuggling against his chest. Traitor, I said fondly, watching my dangerous husband transform into a marshmallow the moment he held our daughter. You like him better. She has excellent taste, Luca said, but he was smiling. The real smile, not the cold mask he wore for the world. I moved to his side, wrapping my arms around both of them. We did it, I said softly. We actually did it. Did what? Built something good from the darkness. He kissed me, careful not to disturb Lucia. We're still a work in progress. Always will be. The past year had been complicated. Daniel's investigation had continued, though he'd found nothing concrete. A few of Luca's rivals had made moves against us, but we'd handled them together. Marco had taken over most operations, with Luca serving as an advisor rather than active boss. It wasn't a complete exit from the life, but it was progress. Elena had graduated with honors and was now in graduate school for art history. She visited monthly, slowly rebuilding her relationship with us. Valentina had become Lucia's godmother, a role she took perhaps too seriously, already planning the baby's education in useful skills. And Luca and I? We were figuring it out. Day by day, choice by choice. I got a call from Daniel yesterday, I said as we stood there, the three of us in our little cocoon of domestic bliss. He's being promoted. Transferring to the white-collar crime division. Meaning he's off our case? Meaning he's choosing to be my brother instead of my investigator. His choice. I looked up at Luca. Apparently, it runs in the family. What does? Choosing love over duty. Family over what's expected. Luca's expression softened. Speaking of choices, I have something for you. He handed me Lucia. She immediately started fussing for her father and left the nursery, returning with an envelope. What is this? I asked, settling our daughter in my arms. Open it. Inside was a legal document. A contract. My 5-year contract with Luca, voiding the marriage agreement. Stamped across it in red ink, void. Nullified. I don't understand, I whispered. You're free, Vivienne. As of today. The 5 years are up. Well, technically they were up last month, but with the baby and everything I forgot. He cupped my face. You can go. Take Lucia, take whatever you want and leave. I won't stop you. Won't come after you. You're free. My heart hammered. This was it. The moment I'd been waiting for since the day he'd forced me to marry him. Freedom. Real freedom. I could leave. Start over. Build the life I'd always wanted. But as I looked at Luca, at the vulnerability in his eyes, the love, the hope, and the very real fear that I might actually go, I realized something. I didn't want freedom if it meant losing this. No, I said. No. I'm not going anywhere. I shifted Lucia to one arm and took his hand with the other. This is my choice, Luca. Not because of a contract or blackmail or even love, though there's plenty of that. But because this dash, I gestured to the three of us, to the life we'd built, is what I want. You're what I want. You're sure? Because Vivienne, if you're staying out of obligation or fear dash. I'm staying because I choose to. Because you've given me real power here, not just as your wife, but as your partner. Because we're building something better for Lucia than what either of us had. I stepped closer. And because I love you. So, always. He pulled me into his arms, carefully, mindful of the baby between us. I don't deserve you, he murmured against my hair. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. For how long? How about forever? No contracts, no timelines. Choosing each other. Every day. Forever sounds perfect. We stood like that as the sun rose over the city, three people who'd found each other in the darkness and somehow, impossibly, built something that resembled light. It wasn't a fairy tale. We weren't saved or redeemed or magically transformed into better people. But we were together. And we were trying. And sometimes that was enough. Hey, Luca. I said after a while. Thank you. For what? For giving me the choice. For letting me be free. He pulled back to look at me, his amber eyes warm. You were always free, Vivienne. From the moment you started fighting back, started making this marriage into something real, you were free. I was just too stubborn to admit it. We're both stubborn. It's part of our charm. Lucia made a noise that might have been agreement or just gas. Either way, it made us both laugh. And as we stood there, the mobster, his willing captive, and the daughter they'd never planned, I realized that this was what happiness looked like. Not perfect. Not clean. Not even entirely legal. But ours. Completely, honestly, beautifully ours. Some cages you stop trying to escape. Some cages you learn to call home. And some loves aren't salvation, they're the most beautiful damnation you'll ever choose. I'd chosen mine. And I'd choose it again. Every single time. The end.